Chapter 41. Izayoi, I do whatever I want. Young Kurama's mood was a volatile mix of shock and anger. As a manifestation of chakra, the moment Yin Kurama returned to the real world, it immediately sensed the presence of its other half. Logically, they should be like an advanced wood clone, able to multitask and share vision with one another. Instead, Young Kurama could sense Yin Kurama's existence, but could not share sight or link consciousness. That meant the other half wasn't mindless, its consciousness was being controlled. Young Kurama's thoughts instinctively turned to the masked man who had once used it to attack Konoha. That person had the power to summon it, and in the entire ninja world, aside from the dead sage of six paths, only one other person had ever summoned the Nine Tails. Madara? Young Kurama lay back down and snorted. It seemed that man hadn't truly died in that battle after all. Still, if he hadn't allowed this old fox's consciousness to return, his body was no longer capable of hosting it. How disappointing. The thought stirred both schadenfreude and regret in young Kurama. Then solemnity took over, as it reviewed the information gleaned through the boy's body. The old man's eyes had reappeared. Whoever controlled the outer path demonic statue would make a move sooner or later. Should young Kurama warn the others? Only a few seconds of hesitation passed before young Kurama answered haughtily, This whole matter has already spread across the ninja world, and none of them contacted me. Why should I contact them? If I do, that Shukaku will only laugh at me. Thinking of Shukaku's annoying face sealed the decision. Young Kurama pushed the idea aside. What was this reincarnation eye anyway? Did the old man have a brother? It was puzzling, but not worth dwelling on. It closed its eyes and returned to sleep. In the land of water, Izanami had already established a summoning contract and forced Yin Kurama to sign it. With the reincarnation eye's spiritual orb and the yin-yang release black rods in place, even if Uchiha Obito located the Nine Tails and could summon it, he would not be able to wrest control from Izanami. After arranging that, Izanami had Orochimaru release Minato Namikaze from the impure world reincarnation and used the Flying Thunder God technique to send him back to his base. Then Izanami returned to the land of water, teleporting with Yin Kurama into a cave full of sealing formulas. The cave sat on a small island far from the ninja continent. On closer inspection, its walls were actually made of wood, less a natural cavern than a cage fashioned from wood release. On a platform above stood a wood clone in sage mode, spreading wood release chakra to sense the surroundings. After entrusting Yin Kurama to that clone, Izanami dispelled his wood clone transformation and teleported home. Sage mode, an unexpected sage body, the important left eye Kamui, and Yin Kurama are all in hand. Now I can step up the firepower. Let's see who's better prepared then. Izanami grinned. Nagato's recovery to peak condition had put pressure on him. That butterfly effect had changed everything. Nagato had acquired the Tobi armor and sharpened his mind, learned Obito's true identity, revitalized himself with Hyde's Grelel stone, and mastered Sage mode. Though he still lacked a complete Susanoo and couldn't employ gravity-based attacks like Heavenly Obstacle destroys stars, Nagato's strength now rivaled that of Edo Madara, thanks to Sage mode. With the Tobi armor and the Wood Golem technique, he could even surpass Edo Madara. Armed with this power, his improved intellect, Obito's Kamui, and Black and White Zetsu's ephemeral technique, Nagato would be well prepared for a second confrontation. Even if Izanami didn't know all of Nagato's preparations, having Kamui kept the initiative in his hands. Before any final battle, Izanami had one task: grind for points. The Konoha Crush plan, the Hidden Rain incident, and the Akatsuki's clashes with Cloud Ninjas had all brought him gains, but not enough to push his point balance beyond 410,000. He had not been idle, however. His wood clones had been directing puppet squads to hunt down lone powerful ninjas across the world. As he'd told Orochimaru, any strong individual with even a little power was a target. When opportunity arose, the wood clones would use heavenly transfer to airdrop the puppets and defeat or eliminate their targets. Izanami had already charted the cooldowns for entries. Anything below purple cooled in under a year. Purple entries took exactly 1 year. Red entries took 2 years. He hadn't obtained a gold entry yet and didn't know its cooldown. Uchiha Sasuke and Hinata's entries, for example, were exactly 2 years apart. Before acquiring Yin Kurama, Izanami had avoided consuming excessive chakra with his main body to remain undetected. He had acted quietly and limited his operations to single targets in the 5 great Shinobi countries. But now his wood clone held Yin Kurama, a nuclear-level power bank. Puppets fitted with yin-yang release black rods had effectively unlimited chakra. No matter how much trouble they caused, it wouldn't expose Izanami's true body. Now I can do whatever I want, Izanami said with a Homelander-like expression. Hunting time begins. The ninja world, peaceful for exactly half a year, began to roil once more. Orochimaru-sama, are you all right? Orochimaru-sama, under Yakushi Kabuto's frantic calls, Orochimaru slowly regained consciousness. Seeing Kabuto in front of him, Orochimaru, still not fully with it, muttered, Kabuto, did you die too? Kabuto? Yakushi blinked. Orochimaru-sama, what are you saying? I just buried Gurren and came back to find you dazed here. Did something happen? Orochimaru shook himself, took in the familiar hall, and brightened. I'm not dead? Kabuto's expression turned serious. Orochimaru-sama, did the Akatsuki find you again? It wasn't the Akatsuki. It was far more dangerous. Orochimaru's face drained. He remembered Otsutsuki Toneri's method, how easily he had been dispatched, and recounted the details, the instant drainage of chakra, the total exhaustion of body and mind. Why did my chakra recover so quickly after that? Could it have been genjutsu? No, what I felt was too real. What was that green light orb? Why did I lose consciousness? Kabuto, check me over, Orochimaru ordered. Yes, Orochimaru-sama. Kabuto complied respectfully. The two moved toward the laboratory, but both froze as if sensing something else. Exchanging a look, they vanished using Shunshin. As they emerged outdoors, 4 transparent red walls rose into the sky, and a 5th completed the seal. 4 red yang formation, Orochimaru said in a grim voice. Kabuto's eyes widened. Is that the 4 red yang formation, the sealing jutsu that requires 4 individuals with chakra at the 5 Kage level? The last time Pain had employed a similar technique, Izanami's interference had kept Orochimaru and Kabuto from seeing it. Now that they saw it plainly, Kabuto grasped the difference between the 4 violet flames formation and the 4 red yang formation. How are we so important that 4-5 Kage-level individuals would need to trap us with a jutsu? Kabuto asked bitterly. 2 figures suddenly appeared in midair and landed a dozen meters away. As a veteran who had fought through 2 great wars, Orochimaru recognized the method. Heavenly transfer technique. Black rods protruded from the 2 figures. At first, Kabuto thought they were Pain, but seeing their eyes made him realize the truth. No, these are puppets. Orochimaru took a breath and surveyed the puppets, corpses of 2 cloud ninja animated into weapons. Lord Toneri, he said coldly, a strong man should have the bearing of a strong man. If you only want my life, take it. There's no need to play games. Our strength equals yours, the puppet replied flatly, drawing a short blade crackling with lightning release nature transformation. Defeat me, and you live. Lose, and your fate depends on my mood. The 2 puppets rushed. A battle between Kage-level opponents and Ace-level fighters erupted instantly. In the Land of Water, the Mizukage building in the Hidden Mist village shuddered as Mei Terumi, standing in for Genshi, along with the Anbu and village ninja, saw a red, transparent barrier arise and lock around the building from the southeast, northwest, and southwest. Mei pressed to the window as it sealed. This is the 4 red yang formation, she said, voice tight. An A-rank barrier should not normally inspire panic, but Hidden Mist had signed a pact with Konoha 6 months earlier and understood the conditions. 4-5 Kage-level individuals were required to produce this seal. That meant 4-5 Kage-level intruders had come to the Hidden Mist, and they'd focused the seal on the Mizukage building. Mei Terumi-sama, the ones forming the jutsu are puppets, Ao reported, appearing at her side. Their bodies are studded with many black rods that conduct chakra, very similar to the Rinnegan-controlled puppets used by the Akatsuki's leader, but their eyes are not Rinnegan. How many strangers are inside the barrier? Mei asked. None, Ao said. They're all our people. Mei's face hardened. In other words, the enemy used space-time ninjutsu to move puppets. Otsutsuki Toneri. As if to answer, hundreds of figures dropped from the sky, landing steadily. They wore the unified white robes of the Otsutsuki clan. Black rods and black nails showed on their faces and the exposed skin outside their clothing. On the foreheads of many puppets were defaced hidden village headbands, Konoha, hidden sand, hidden cloud, even the smaller villages like hidden sound and grass. Ao's eyes widened, cold sweat beaded on his temple. Their chakra is the same level as the puppets maintaining the barrier. Mei and the assembled Anbu were struck dumb. Before they could act, the puppet army surged forward. Ao's brow knit in confusion. If their chakra had been at 5 Kaji level a moment ago, why had it dropped? Was that earlier display an illusion from the conductors? Outside the Mizukage building, a fierce battle exploded. If things went as expected, the Mizukage building would be reduced to ruins. Similar scenes unfolded across the lands. At the Kazakage building in the hidden sand, the Tsuchikage building in Iwagakure, the Raikage building in the newly established New Hidden Cloud Village, and the Hokage building in Konoha. The fourth Raikage swore under his breath as puppet armies arrived using heavenly transfer. Then his eyes widened. One puppet, fashioned from a cloud ninja, shimmered in blue-white lightning. Lightning released chakra mode. Black and white combat flared outside the Raikage building. In the Cloud Thunder Gorge by the New Hidden Cloud Village, Aburame Tarun had been teleported onto the field. He created 4 shadow clones, each forming seals and spitting chakra flames of different natures. The colored flames merged into a brilliant sphere that detonated with a deafening roar, the 5 elements' great consecutive ball technique. The standing mountain range crumbled into dust. Thick clouds of debris billowed. A beast's roar cut through the dust. The fully manifested 8 tails, furious and towering, broke free. Chapter 142, Get Rich, a hero who directed and acted in his own drama. Damn it! You who came all the way from the moon call us Ninja World people monkeys. Why won't you fight this old man face to face? Above the Tsuchikage building in Iwagakure, Onoki floated in the air, cursing as he watched the puppet squad battling the Anbu on the rooftop below. Unlike the other great ninja villages, which still had room to maneuver, the 4 puppets airdropped into Iwagakure had landed almost on top of the Tsuchikage building and used the 4 red yang formation to isolate the building from the rest of the village. The barrier rose into the air and sank into the ground. It sealed the unseen depths as well. Unless someone could break the formation or attack the casters from outside it, neither flying nor tunneling would allow escape. No one could get in, and no one inside could get out. Onoki, the Iwagakure Anbu, the ninja inside the Tsuchikage building, all were trapped within its bounds. The puppet squad on the building was trapped too. That was why Onoki was so distraught. The number of puppets inside the Tsuchikage building was small. Most were his subordinates. Onoki, who hated sending troops into danger, who had even once spent a fortune to hire the Akatsuki rather than risk his people, couldn't fully unleash his terrifying dust release. If the barrier didn't constrain him, he would have ordered his men to fall back and wipe those puppets out instantly with a single particle style disintegration technique. But doing that would destroy the Tsuchikage building and bury his own people in the rubble. He wasn't mourning the building itself. He feared how many of his subordinates would be crushed if the structure collapsed. Corpses were puppets, his subordinates were living people. At that moment, Onoki felt what the Akatsuki and the Hidden Cloud must feel, people with no scruples but tremendous power. It disgusted him. Seeing the puppets ignore him, Onoki descended and used other ninjutsu to help his men contain them. The other villages were hit differently. The Hidden Mist, Hidden Cloud, and Iwagakure received dozens or even hundreds of puppets. The Hidden Sand got only about a dozen. Those puppets didn't trap the Kazakage building. They split up, 3 holding Chiyo, Ebizo, and Gaara each, while the rest hunted down rare Bloodline users. Every Bloodline user was a high-value target. Capturing one could yield 4-digit points. As the 4 red yang formation rose around the Hokage building, Konoha plunged into chaos. Sirens wailed. Shinobi organized villagers and moved them to shelters. Large numbers of ninja gathered outside the barrier. They have black rods on them, but no Rinnegan. This is Otsutsuki Toneri. Only 4 puppet clones cast the 4 red yang formation? How massive is Toneri's chakra? Hokage-sama is in danger. Is there any way to break that barrier? It's a full coverage seal. Not even Earth Release can penetrate it. It has to be broken by force or by attacking the casters through the formation. and the 4 red yang formation's defense is many times stronger than the 4 violet flames formation. Then what do we do? Just stand here and watch? Nervous voices echoed all around. Some hot-headed shinobi who had never seen such power wanted to crash the barrier to test it, but those nearby restrained them, otherwise they'd be turned to charcoal. Suddenly, a vest-wearing shinobi with a pineapple-shaped hairstyle, the Nara clan, brightened and announced, "I know, find Izanami. His wood release should be able to injure the casters directly." "Quick, inform Izanami," came the reply. But the next report froze them. Bad news. Izanami's house is trapped by the 4 red yang formation too. The Uchiha district and the waterfall area outside the village are sealed as well. "How huge is that chakra pool? Even a tailed beast probably isn't much larger," someone muttered. When Izanami went all out, he didn't spare himself. Few even knew he could use space-time ninjutsu, but his wood release alone could break the barrier. To avoid damaging his home, he orchestrated the confrontation himself, allowing a strong opponent to hold him back, Danzo, who had received an epic-level buff. Izanami led Danzo to a prepared arena, set up a barrier there, and engaged him. The wooden forest he created blocked views and helped absorb the destructive force of elemental ninjutsu. Explosions thudded and rattled the barrier. Those who couldn't see inside could only gauge the battle by sound and the way chakra struck the walls. Hinata, the only one who knew Izanami was actually Otsutsuki Toneri, opened her Byakugan at home to watch the chaos in Konoha, puzzled. "Izanami-kun, what are you doing?" But as a good wife, she stood by him, convinced he had a reason for attacking his own village. She acted concerned and went to the outside of the arena barrier to peer in with her Byakugan. Her worry was acted. Her future father-in-law, Hiyashi Hyuga's worry, was real. Didn't they come down for the Outer Path demonic statue? Why attack Konoha? What are they after? He wondered. On the open ground by the Nanga River, Uchiha Sasuke faced a puppet. His 3 Tomoe Sharingan read the opponent's chakra pattern, and he frowned. "Puppet, are you the Akatsuki leader or Otsutsuki Toneri?" The puppet didn't answer. It formed a black longsword with yin-yang release, laced it with lightning release, and charged. "Humph, whoever you are, if you didn't come in your true body, you're staying right here," Sasuke sneered, drawing his kusanagi and meeting the assault. At the waterfall area, Jiraiya shielded Naruto and stared at the 2 puppets before them. "Black rods, no Rinnegan. Otsutsuki Toneri?" he guessed at once, the same information he'd shared with Tsunade and the allied villages. Naruto blinked. "Toneri? That name sounds familiar." Young Kurama, inside Naruto, opened his eyes wide. "This chakra, no mistake. It's his, not Madara. This guy got the other half of that one. No wonder the other half's been quiet. It's the ocular power of the ultimate eye." Excited, young Kurama grinned. "Good, you can use this old man's chakra however you like. Attack Konoha or seize the Outer Path statue. Let the other half give you a hand." Compared with Yin Kurama falling into Madara's hands, Yang Kurama preferred Toneri, same surname as the Sage of 6 Paths, and here to take the Outer Path statue. If Toneri won, the Rinnegan might be recovered, and Kurama wouldn't worry about the tailed beasts returning to the 10 Tails. Toneri's wood clone had not become a 9 Tails Jinchuriki, otherwise it would have been perfect. The 2 puppets charged Jiraiya and Naruto without hesitation. In an instant, they switched to lightning release chakra mode and used close-range teleportation on par with the Flying Thunder God technique to separate the 2, preventing Jiraiya from intervening. Jiraiya used Needle Jizo defensively and summoned Fukasaku and Shima to enter Sage mode. Naruto was grabbed by the neck and flung. He created many shadow clones and urged Kurama for chakra, but Yang Kurama, who usually responded immediately, pulled back and ignored him. Naruto could only rely on multiple clones, Rasengan and Wind Release, but they were useless against puppets using elemental ninjutsu, lightning mode, and space-time teleportation. After a dozen exchanges, a black rod was driven into Naruto, sealing his chakra flow. The puppet knocked him unconscious. No entries dropped, so the puppet teleported away to other battlefields. The other puppet stayed to finish Jiraiya. This upheaval across the 5 great shinobi countries lasted barely an hour before it ended. Lacking strategic-level bloodline techniques and unable to use Super Hurricane serial spheres, the puppets relied on Izanami's mastery of the 5 elements, forbidden sealing techniques, yin-yang release, and light bullets. With nearly limitless chakra supplied by Yin Kurama, each puppet could challenge a Kage. Some, like the puppet wielded by Aburame Tarun, with nanoscale poisonous insects, could kill a Kage on contact. Yet even the 5 Kage fought hard. The puppet army couldn't overwhelm the Cloud's forces. Izanami's goal was to farm points, not annihilate the Shinobi world, so he didn't attack every village at once. His puppets targeted the 5 Kage and Ambu as secondary objectives. His true targets were Sasuke and Naruto. When confronting other villages' shinobi, the puppets often held back, intending to capture rather than kill. Their opening tactic was lightning release chakra mode, plus yin-yang release black rods. Anyone caught off guard had their chakra sealed like a Hyuga gentle fist and was knocked unconscious. If an opponent dodged the first strike, the puppet escalated, elemental ninjutsu, forbidden sealing arts, or unique abilities to maim and kill. Each puppet had a target and teleported away after a victory, sometimes disappearing with the corpse. When the target was a Kage, one or more colored beams of light would rise from the body and fly to Konoha. Izanami and Danzo had been testing all this for half an hour. The system prompts constantly chimed in Izanami's mind as he converted captured entries into points. Only when his wood clone relayed that both Naruto and Sasuke had been defeated with no entries dropped did Izanami end the assortment and get serious. Sage Mode. Activate. Izanami clasped his hands. Red shadows appeared under his eyes, and his pupils glowed gold. He intoned, Sage Art, Wood Release, Wood Golem Technique, then Sage Art, Wood Release, Many Covered Hands Technique. Konoha no longer needed to wonder if Wood Release was real. The ground trembled. Parts of the ruined Hokage building's foundation turned to wood, liquefied, and sealed into a mask like a demon god, 2 halves closing like doors, enclosing the unconscious and the fighting shinobi inside. Great wooden fists burst from the earth with terrifying speed and force, smashing puppets into the sky. The 4 puppets maintaining the 4 red yang formation were torn to pieces with a single blow. Black rods and nails erupted from many puppets as if flung out by a massive impact. Only a few puppets teleported away in time. The barrier vanished as quickly as it had appeared. The battle was over in an instant. Outside, the Konoha shinobi, who had been helplessly watching, stared with their mouths agape. Without an enormous spectacle or a towering forest, with one defensive and one offensive move, Izanami demonstrated the unquestionable power and security Wood Release provided. This is absurd. Is this the legendary Wood Release? Jiraiya, in Sage Mode, watched a puppet that he and 2 sages had failed to beat get crushed by a single wooden fist. His eyes went wide. Fukasaku and Shima on his shoulders echoed the shock. Such powerful sage technique chakra. Izanami had not appeared in person to save the village. He'd ended the battle and quelled the disturbance with a combination of techniques, and in doing so, he lit up the entire scene. His reputation in Konoha would skyrocket. Last year, he'd been a rising star. Today, he would be hailed as a hero, the leading candidate for 6th Hokage. What the villagers didn't know was that Izanami had staged the whole affair himself, directing and acting in his own drama, fighting against himself to manufacture his victory. Chapter 143, Black Zetsu's Anxiety, 500,000 points. Hokage-sama, are you all right? 0 casualties. That's a relief. Thank goodness Izanami arrived in time. That punch just now, it felt like it could shatter a mountain. As expected of the legendary Wood Release. As the fighting died down, the small dark chamber shaped like a demon's mask slowly opened. Konoha shinobi hurried in, gathering around a bewildered Tsunade and the others, checking the bodies of the unconscious Ambu and Jonin, and came to a conclusion that sent a wave of relief through everyone. Thanks to Izanami's timely intervention, the wounded and bleeding comrades had been saved. Otsutsuki Toneri's assault had only demolished the Hokage building. You said, besides the Hokage building, there were 3 other places where the 4 red yang formation activated. Tsunade, newly recovered, listened as Nara Shikaku delivered disturbing news. Her expression hardened. Yes, Hokage-sama. Nara Shikaku inclined his head and continued. Those 3 locations were Izanami's residence, the Uchiha clan territory, and a waterfall area outside the village. Why would he attack us like that, and with such specific targets? Tsunade frowned. Does he intend to harvest our bodies to build puppets and strengthen his puppet army? That would be one explanation, Shikaku replied, calm but puzzled. But something about his method doesn't add up. He explained what the Hyuga scouts and he had observed. Although the formations targeted high-level combatants led by the Hokage, the puppet's chakra seemed inconsistent, sometimes weak, sometimes overwhelming. Against multiple opponents, the puppet's chakra would surge, often matching the strongest target among them. In one-on-one confrontations, the puppet's chakra was at best comparable to their opponent, sometimes slightly inferior. More strangely, Shikaku went on, they weren't attacking to kill. Instead, they drove those black rods into the target's bodies, disrupted their chakra flow, and knocked them unconscious. Then the puppets didn't finish them off or drag the bodies away. They simply teleported away alone. It happened to Anbu and to Sasuke and Naruto, always the same. He paused. This doesn't look like hunting elite shinobi to make more puppets. It's more like an experiment. Tsunade's brow deepened. You mean he's using us to test the puppet's strength? I think that's likely, Shikaku agreed. Casting the 4 red yang formation requires 4 shinobi with Kaja-level chakra. 4 such formations means 16 puppets, each supplying Kaja-level chakra. The puppets that fought against you, Jiraiya, and Izanami all showed Kaja-level chakra. The others were ace-level, or at least special Jonin level. All that chakra is channeled through those black rods into a chakra core nearly the size of a tailed beast, totally different from the puppet army we saw attack the Hidden Cloud last year. If I'm not mistaken, Otsutsuki Toneri has already obtained a tailed beast, or become a Jinchuriki, he concluded. Tsunade sighed. It looks like a second round of those immortal eyes is imminent. Facing that kind of abnormal power, a single one of our 5 great shinobi countries can only be a testing ground. It's maddening. If it truly is experimentation, it's not just Konoha being targeted. Other villages are likely being used the same way, Shikaku added. Like he told us himself, before the immortal eyes, the shinobi of the 5 great countries are only monkeys to him. Tsunade spoke quietly. I hope his aim is only to retrieve the Outer Path demonic statue. If he gets it and returns to the moon to resume being their god, then I almost hope Toneri wins the second round. Shikaku said nothing for a long moment. It was a thought he barely understood, but if the moon visitor would take the statue back to the moon and leave the ninja world to its own, Konoha's wood-release shinobi might be the deciding force for the future. Izanami, who didn't want to kill potential subordinates, had only entered the fighting in earnest after the puppets incapacitated Sasuke, about half an hour into the assault. Other villages were not so lucky. Shinobi instantly killed could not be revived. Those who barely escaped the lightning-release chakra mode and the yin-yang black rods were often dead or grievously wounded. Unless a shinobi possessed a bloodline trait with a purple attribute, Izanami's wood clones had little patience for prolonged skirmishes and resorted to large-scale or ultimate techniques. Those with purple attributes received Izanami's mercy and restraint. After all, Sasori of the Red Sand and Deidara were not killed by Izanami in the past because of their personalities and because both were strong individuals with double purple attributes. Purple attributes have a year-long cooldown. Harvesting them is a once-a-year opportunity. Killing the goose who lays the eggs would be wasteful. So 95% of the fatalities across the 4 great ninja villages were shinobi without purple attributes. Those purple attribute shinobi who were taken were used by the puppets to strengthen their army. About an hour after the last assault, the chaos in the ninja world subsided, and the puppets vanished as mysteriously as they'd arrived, leaving behind ruined Kaji buildings. The 5 Kaji who had not been defeated or killed burned with impotent fury. Their desire to tear Otsutsuki Toneri apart remained only a thought. Against that superlative power, they were no different from ordinary people, the enemy comparable to Madara without Hashirama's restraint. Over the next 2 days, Toneri's reputation spread like wildfire. The smaller villages that were outside his hunting range breathed easier and indulged in schadenfreude. If the great villages were weakened by Toneri, their own status among them might rise. Their wish was quickly realized. A week later, the great villages exchanged intelligence and tried to analyze Toneri's intentions. While the 5 Kaja debated a summit, the puppets returned, and the barriers went up again. This time, there were twice as many puppets, but the formations varied. Only one 4-red yang trapped a Kaj or Jinchuriki. The other puppets used the 4 violet flames formation, targeting those with purple attributes who had either survived or weren't targeted last time. In the week since the last attack, injuries had healed and those shinobi were ready to be harvested again. 5 wood clones controlled the puppet army. 2 more recorded who dropped attributes and who didn't. The operation was clearly targeted. Izanami would keep at it until all the purple attributes in the 5 great shinobi countries were harvested. Whenever Izanami considered this, he lamented how few bloodline clans remained. With the Senju gone and their bloodline diluted, and the decline of the Uchiha, Uzumaki, and other clans, true bloodline families were dangerously few. The wealthiest in that sense was the Hyuga clan of Konoha, coincidentally Hinata's maternal family, and Hinata alone knew Izanami's reincarnation eye's secret, that he was Otsutsuki Toneri. Although Hinata wouldn't blame him, Izanami couldn't bring himself to confront her father and relatives. If Izanami had been born during the first, second, or even third ninja wars, he might have racked up massive points. Otsutsuki bloodline traits could be harvested and upgraded. If he'd hidden until now, he might already have red or higher attributes, and his strength could have surpassed the Sage of 6 Paths long ago. Instead, he had Naruto, Sasuke, Hinata, and Otsutsuki Toneri on the moon to contend with. For Izanami, the primary targets remained Naruto and Sasuke. The assaults on the 5 great countries were a way to earn extra income. A single red attribute could yield at least 100,000 points. With luck, you could get 990,000 and upgrade a red attribute 1-to-1 to some unknown new level. So every week, the puppet army descended to farm attributes. Gradually, the 5 Kaji realized Toneri was using the shinobi as training dummies. He knocked out or gravely injured opponents. Deaths were usually collateral damage. The Kage were furious but helpless. The hot-headed 4th Raikage, if the hidden cloud had already built its chakra cannon, would have liked to fire straight at the moon. The situation could not be hidden from Akatsuki. White Zetsu clones were spread through the ninja world, and in the Kamui dimension Nagato and Uchiha Obito met with black and white Zetsu to discuss Jinchuriki and tailed beasts. Except for the 3 tails, which hasn't been revived yet, the Jinchuriki from 1 tail to 9 tails are all still present, White Zetsu reported, puzzled. And that absurd chakra doesn't seem to be coming from the tailed beasts. His training targets include the 1-tailed Jinchuriki in the hidden sand, the 4 and 5 tails in the land of earth, the 2-8 in the hidden cloud, and the 9 tails in Konoha, but he didn't kill any of them or extract their beasts. It looks like what we feared most has happened, Obito said. He already has that Grelil stone. Nagato tapped a wooden table made with wood release and studied the reports. The Grelil stone's energy is pure natural energy and life force. The mobile fortress used that energy to create armored constructs, but it can't be converted into tailed beast-level chakra. If this is training, those puppet bodies shouldn't have possessed huge chakra reserves. They'd transform into strange beast-like forms, maybe appear in sage mode, like Hyde and his subordinates. This enormous chakra either means Otsutsuki Toneri has achieved some unprecedented power increase, or he has obtained a source of chakra similar to a tailed beast. Black Zetsu fell silent. Things were slipping out of control again. The release-sealed jutsu could be seen only by the caster and the target, revealing the legendary Shinigami. Otherwise, only those with the Shinigami's power and dimensional awareness could sense it. Coupled with the 9 tails' incredible chakra, half of which was stronger than a whole 8 tails, Black Zetsu did not know that the Shinigami had split the 9 tails in 2. Like Narashikaku, he had first suspected Toneri had acquired a tailed beast. If a beast had been taken, there would at least be a tangible source. But after investigating, not a single Jinchuriki was missing. What was that massive chakra? Where did it come from? If it was an external source, its owner might soon turn their attention toward them. Nagato, feeling the unease, ordered Black and White Zetsu. Zetsu, speed up your surveillance. My sense tells me that once he finishes this unknown objective, he will start targeting us. Yes. 2 months passed. A new week came, and the 5 great shinobi countries, now conditioned for the puppet raids, prepared themselves. Still, a full night passed with no puppets appearing. The next day was the same. The third passed as well. The Kage and their forces stared, disbelieving as the nightmare seemed to have ended. Only after the week closed without incident did their tense nerves finally loosen. Some of the shinobi with the strongest hearts even wept with relief. It's finally over. The devil who tormented but did not kill had gone. They did not know they had only temporarily lost value. Once the leeks grew again, the harvesting blade could fall at any time. Soon, very soon, Izanami murmured in the hot spring pool, staring at his personal display. On the points line, a 6-digit number shone, 0.79999. Over the past 2 months of relentless hunting, Izanami had gained 500,000 points. Chapter 144, The Junin Examination, the beginning of the final battle. Over the past 2 months, with roughly 1 strike per week, the human puppet legion had attacked the 5 great shinobi countries 11 times, and Izayoi had earned only 500,000 points. What made that total worse was how those points were distributed. More than 70,000 of them came from Uchiha Sasuke. Exactly as Izayoi had suspected, the stronger the opponent, the higher the drop rate when you beat them in a fair duel. If you killed them outright, there was even a 50% chance. Pure gambler's luck. Most of the Puppet Legion's assaults had been group engagements. Only the fights against the 5 Kage, the Jinchuriki, and the duels with Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto had been one-on-one, straight contests. The puppets would match their chakra levels to the opponents or deliberately lower themselves, a tactic to increase the chance of a drop. A puppet that ran out of chakra couldn't be replenished by a wood clone. If it was defeated, it was surrendered to the victor. In 11 duels, Izayoi's puppets lost to Sasuke only once, because that time the boy had actually used Sage Technique, inorganic reincarnation, and at the last moment combined it with wood release to catch the puppet off guard. After that surprise, Sasuke never won again. Over 10 defeats, Sasuke dropped 3 entries, 1 gold, 1 purple, and 1 blue. The gold was Super Kage potential, the purple was wood release, the blue was an Otsutsuki bloodline. Naruto, who had been defeated 11 times, had only yielded 1 purple entry, the Whirlpool clan bloodline Izayoi had already taken from him earlier. Izayoi felt a little helpless about that. Unlike Hinata and Sasuke, who were prodigies, Naruto's progress was messy and unsystematic. 6 years of scraping by at the Ninja Academy had left his ninjutsu difficult to categorize. Without fine control, he couldn't learn the strength of 100 technique of the Senju. His genjutsu was negligible. Even if he wanted to train properly, it would take years to raise his ninjutsu, taijutsu, and genjutsu to top-tier levels. That was why Izayoi had given up on cultivating Naruto and focused on Sasuke, the real child of prophecy. Sasuke could be guided to grow into his natural cheats. Izayoi didn't have the patience to remake Naruto. Besides, Naruto's cheats, when they appeared, were spectacular. Every major breakthrough transformed him. Putting aside the tens of thousands of points Sasuke supplied, Izayoi's 2 months of hard work had only netted a little over 400,000 points. The gambler's moment had a 50% ceiling. Hunting down high-end opponents and merely defeating them without killing them made the effective drop rate even lower. Getting a high-level entry was extraordinarily lucky. Izayoi shuddered to think how long it would have taken if he hadn't discovered the puppet mechanism. If he hadn't spent points upgrading chakra control and sage body, with his current points, he could have upgraded a red entry to a new, unknown tier. Still, he didn't regret taking sage body to red. He had reasons beyond raw power. Yes, sage body improved wood release and his overall strength, but the primary motive was truth-seeking ball. If he could not become the Ten Tails Jinchuriki, he could still aim to master 6-path sage mode to gain yin-yang release and the complete set of nature transformations necessary to create a truth-seeking ball. Of the 3 prerequisites, 6-path sage mode, yin-yang release, and mastery of all 7 nature transformations, Izayoi already possessed yin-yang release and would gain the final nature transformations when the reincarnation eye completed its evolution. He only lacked the former. If he reached 6 paths level and learned truth-seeking ball, combined with the reincarnation eye chakra mode, Even a ten-tails Jinchuriki wouldn't be unbeatable. Is your goal almost within reach, Izayoi-kun? Hinata's gentle voice floated down from above. Izayoi looked up to find Hinata, draped over his shoulders and offering him a comfortable pillow of warm softness as they lounged in the hot spring. He snapped his personal panel away, the private display only he could see, leaned into her embrace and smiled. Yes, do you want to know why I'm doing this? Is it convenient to say? Hinata tilted her head, then dabbed his sweat with a handkerchief and smiled softly. If it's not convenient, you don't have to tell me. I trust you. Those words, trust, meant more than polite reassurance. For 2 months she had been steady like that. If he said nothing, she asked nothing. It wasn't until he went 2 weeks without striking Konoha that she finally spoke. Unlike Jiraiya, who'd loudly threaten the village if it crossed a line, or other Will of Fire fanatics who would put the village above all, Hinata had quietly chosen Izayoi. She hadn't betrayed him by speaking to Hanabi, her father, or others. She didn't ask, she acted. That was Hinata's way of loving him, and Izayoi felt it deeply. Only Hinata could make him drop all his defenses while the reincarnation eye matured. Thank you for trusting me, Hinata. He didn't explain. He simply turned, pressed the back of her head to his chest and pulled her in. Laughter, a splash as they sank into the spring together. Only a towel drifted on the surface. October 25th, Konoha Year 61, a newly built Hokage office. This is your Jonin examination mission. Tsunade slid a scroll sealed confidential across her desk to Izayoi, who had come wearing a green vest and his forehead protector. You must complete the mission in this scroll within 10 days without revealing your identity. Izayoi caught the scroll and frowned. Is there no test like the Chunin exams? There is, for special Jonin. Tsunade didn't hide anything. Formally, there are 3 names, Special Jonin, Jonin, and Elite Jonin, but in practice it comes down to 2 types. Special Jonin are promoted exceptionally for unique talents after an exam. Jonin are all-rounders, steady leaders with intelligence, mercy, and courage, the backbone of the ninja forces. Elite Jonin isn't a formal rank so much as an honorific, a reputation. Elite Jonin are outstanding among Jonin, frequently S-rank powerhouses, and the best of these are candidates for the 5 Kage. Special Jonin require exams against village opponents of similar talent. Winners are promoted. Jonin don't have a set exam. They must demonstrate all-round capability. In terms of strength, Jonin should master at least 2 nature transformations to qualify for advanced or compound ninjutsu. In terms of intelligence, they must be calm, experienced, and reliable, able to finish missions without causing harm to their village or clients. Only such people can lead the ninja forces. She tapped the scroll in Izayoi's hands. You've already proven your strength to the village and the world. This mission will test your abilities in the field. Izayoi read the confidential seal and understood why she insisted on secrecy. Ninjas with superlative combat power could break conventions. Historically, there were only a handful who could. Jonin operate just below Elite Jonin and the 5 Kage, strong enough to take on S-rank missions and confidential operations. Because of that, the exam couldn't be a village-only affair. You can't truly test a top-tier ninja against your own people. The opponents and the location needed to be hostile ninja villages. I understand, Hokage-sama. Izayoi bowed slightly. Good, get your departure permit. Tsunade waved him off and added, almost as an afterthought, keep this scroll safe. Don't tell anyone, Hinata included. That's the rule. Izayoi nodded, obtained his permit, packed, left a brief note for Hinata, and departed Konoha the usual way. The mission itself posed no real challenge to him, so long as it didn't demand taking down the moon or soloing the Akatsuki while hiding the reincarnation eye. It was a formality, a cover. Going alone gave him an alibi and kept him free from Tsunade's emergency summons, perfect for his main body to make the final preparations. He planned to teleport away later, then pick the right moment to ring the bell for the final battle. Suddenly a stream of information poured into his mind. The wood clone transmitting data in real time had picked up something. Not a secret missive, but a meeting in the Kamui dimension. In that pocket of space, White Zetsu's voice reported, Konoha's wood-release ninja has left. From what we can see, it's a solo mission. Finally gone? Another voice said. It looks like the 5 great Shinobi countries are resuming activity. Leader, will you act now? Asked one of the Zetsu. Nagato spoke calmly. No rush. Let's prepare. We don't know how far Otsutsuki Toneri's reincarnation eye can perceive, but my chakra is obvious. If his eyes can see chakra, he'll find my location fast. Once his main body leaves, he'll look for an opportunity to seize the Outer Path demonic statue. From his pattern of attacks, the human puppet legion will likely be airdropped into the Hidden Rain village. Before we strike, evacuate the villagers. Nagato turned to Uchiha Obito. Obito, can your wood clone use Kamui? Yes. Obito nodded. Good. Keep your main body in the Hidden Rain village and send a clone to find the villagers. If anything happens, transfer them to the Kamui dimension and use your main body as part of the teleport array. Nagato made full use of the summoning master entry. Even Obito, the owner of Kamui, looked surprised. Kamui could be used like that, almost like the Flying Thunder God technique. Understood, Obito said. Start now. Send your clone. Nagato rose and formed a massive wood clone, pouring chakra into it, then altered his main body's appearance with wood transformation. White Zetsu smiled. Time for that guy to taste how we feel. When the wood clone returned from the Kamui dimension to the Hidden Rain village, the clone on duty detected something wrong and relayed it back in real time. This isn't the main body. Where has the real one gone? Meanwhile, Izayoi, who hadn't teleported away but was flying through a forest, was deciding this was a good opportunity to order a surprise attack on the Hidden Rain village. Before he could send the command, he sensed something and halted, perching on top of a tall tree. He looked up into the clear golden sky and fixed his gaze on a slowly descending black figure. A faint twitch crossed his lips. Well, using their own methods to strike back, huh? Chapter 145. Izayoi's taunt will let you experience the true wood release. Izayoi was still wondering where Nagato's true body had gone. He never expected the man to come looking for him, especially disguised, using wood release transformation to take on the form of Otsutsuki Toneri. If anything went wrong, Nagato could always pin it on Toneri. What puzzled Izayoi was why Nagato had singled him out. They had only crossed paths once before in Orochimaru's underground base. Judging by the disguise, it didn't look like Nagato had discovered his real identity. Otherwise, he would have led the Akatsuki to strike Konoha outright instead of intercepting him here. Whatever Nagato's motives, Izayoi hated being on the defensive. As Nagato drifted down, Izayoi couldn't help taunting him. The dignified leader of Akatsuki, the new era's ninja god, actually disguises himself as the enemy. The 5 Great Shinobi Countries incident, the Sage's Eye duel, was all you're doing, wasn't it, owner of the Rinnegan? Nagato, mimicking Toneri's tone, froze. The words caught in his throat and a rare shiver ran over him. Looking down at Izayoi with cool contempt, he asked, How do you know? Your disguise is clumsy in the same way as Uchiha Obito's, Izayoi sneered. Wood release transformation itself is flawless, and your chakra feels different from the last time I met you. But you can change your chakra's exterior. You can't change the aura of your soul. Your sensing, can it detect the soul's aura? Nagato blinked, alarmed. Heh, interesting. Izayoi smiled playfully. Your outward traits match the Whirlpool clan, yet you awakened the wood release bloodline limit and learned Hashirama's wood golem technique, but you never awakened, or you neglected, the Whirlpool clan's unique abilities. Aha. Nagato's eyes narrowed as he grasped Izayoi's meaning. His own mind's eye of the Kagura had merged with the Rinnegan to give him special sensing, which made Izayoi's detection plausible. Realizing he'd been seen through, Nagato dropped his wood transformation and praised him, as expected of the genius who exposed Uchiha Madara at the academy. Your talent makes even me wary. Akatsuki seeks a new world, and you and that Otsutsuki Toneri are obstacles. To be praised by the new era's ninja god, I'm flattered, Izayoi replied with a smile, then asked, genuinely curious, but why target me first? Why not deal with the troublesome Toneri? Because you are the rightful bearer of wood release. Nagato raised his hand toward Izayoi. Your sacrifice will hasten peace. Die, Izayoi-kun, all creation of attraction. A strange gravity ripped Izayoi up from the treetop. Underestimate me at your peril, Izayoi said. Then let me show you the true wood release. He had planned this confrontation as the opening of the final battle and wasted no time. Without forming hand seals, his hand became a huge, thick limb that shot toward Nagato like a python. From the forest floor, countless giant snakes uncoiled, tentacle-like vines that struck and bound toward Nagato. For the first time, Nagato's eyes betrayed surprise. No hand signs. Could this be orthodox wood release? He masked his astonishment with calm and used Shinra Tensei. A wave of repulsion slammed down. The roots and branches frozen in the air suddenly cracked under the pressure. Pieces of tree and earth split off and spun away. Nagato pushed his chakra harder and finally shattered the wooden constructs. Landing back on a treetop, he used his vision to probe Izayoi's chakra and muttered in disbelief. Such powerful chakra. How is this possible? Last time in Orochimaru's base, Nagato had seen Izayoi's wood clone capable of major wood release techniques like deep forest emergence. He'd suspected Izayoi might share Senju and Uzumaki blood, and that his true body would have massive reserves. But even accounting for that, Izayoi's chakra now felt beyond anything Nagato had seen, stronger than Toneri earlier this year, even surpassing an Eight-Tails Jinchuriki. Izayoi had only graduated last year and was still young. This power defied reason. Could this be what orthodox wood release meant? Wood release, wood golem jutsu. Izayoi moved first. Again without seals, he pointed. The forest convulsed, and with a thunderous crack, a mountain-sized wooden fist erupted up and smashed toward Nagato. It moved with such friction that the air distorted around it, and it struck like an unstoppable boulder. Nagato didn't use Shinra Tensei to block. He transformed his arms into cannon-like mechanisms, launching a fiery missile and rocketing out of the fist's path. The wooden fist opened and unleashed a dense volley of spikes, wood release, cutting technique, like a hail of crossbow bolts. Nagato, not wanting Izayoi to escape, repelled the barrage with another Shinra Tensei and blasted them apart. Then he flew back toward the forest and fired a tracking missile, burning with Asura Path power. Izayoi could see its tremendous chakra. If it struck, the explosion would be catastrophic, and it tracked its target relentlessly. Izayoi's response was composed. He condensed super hurricane serial spheres, inputted water and lightning nature transformations, and formed a storm-release light sphere. It transformed into a beam that struck Nagato's missile. The ensuing blast forged a mushroom cloud and a hurricane-like shockwave that bent and shredded ordinary trees. Vines and wooden tendrils leapt up, cocooning Izayoi and buffering him from wind and heat. Nagato pressed forward in a white light shield, pressed his hand to the wooden wall, and fed wood-release chakra into it, trying to grow a tree that would swallow Izayoi. A spear shot from the wall at him, but it froze inches from his head as the air distorted. Moments later, the distortion exploded, shattering both spear and the wooden shield and hurling Izayoi into the open. Planetary devastation, Nagato called, clapping his hands. An invisible gravity field condensed into a black orb above Izayoi, tearing trees from the ground and pulling up rubble. Izayoi remained calm. He formed super hurricane serial spheres again, this time adding 3 nature transformations to create a dust-release light mass that became a transparent beam striking the black sphere. The orb ruptured, and the leftover dust-release beam twisted the remaining gravity. Nagato, inwardly awed by Izayoi's ninjutsu talent, his effortless blending of multiple elements into techniques akin to bloodline limits, realized Izayoi could change genetics and create a new legacy of powers. Izayoi was also wise enough not to use his compound techniques on himself recklessly, clearly aware of the animal path's abilities. Nagato closed fast, launching a mechanical Asura Path arm to smash Izayoi. He imagined Izayoi would cross his arms and Nagato would use a black rod to disrupt chakra and win in one blow, but Izayoi met the attack with a punch. Their fists collided in a shock like a missile explosion. Nagato's mechanical arm shattered and he was thrown backward. Shock and exhilaration rippled through him. Is that Senju chakra? That strength of 100? Used like that. They clashed again. Nagato's arm reassembled, covered now with earth release armor that formed a spear. Their blows shattered and ground shook, but Nagato withstood the impact this time through diamond-like defense. The forest turned to wasteland as they traded devastating blows. When conventional taijutsu could not decide the fight, both abandoned typical restraint. Their bodies transformed with weapons and armored limbs, lasers and wooden fists colliding until neither side gave ground. Is this the true wood release? Nagato thought as Izayoi formed wooden limbs and a chakra-rich fist that even laser could not pierce. No seals required. Compared to Izayoi's wood, Nagato's and Obito's wood release created by Hashirama cells, though powerful, required seals and far more chakra to perform major techniques. Their wood's hardness could not compare. The gap was like the three Tomoe Sharingan to the Mangekyo. He couldn't best Izayoi in taijutsu either. While relaying battlefield data to his wood clone in the Hidden Rain Village, Nagato clapped his hands and called, "Sage Mode, activate!" Red eyeshadow spread across his face, and his aura shifted. Izayoi feigned surprise and then mirrored him. He clasped his hands, red shadow appearing around his own eyes and his pupils flashing gold. "You're not the only one who learned Sage Mode," Izayoi said calmly. "I may not have the same rule-based abilities the Sage's Eye grants. Repulsion and attraction alone won't beat me." "Then use the wood release you used on Toneri. This is a wood release duel." Sage Art, wood release, deep forest emergence. The ground convulsed. Trees as wide as 18 men erupted like stone pillars, a green tidal wave rising dozens of meters and swallowing Nagato. The ordinary forest became a primeval sea, denser than the death forest. Each towering tree thrummed with chakra and obeyed Izayoi's will. Fire could not consume them, water could not drown them, earth could not topple them, lightning could not pierce them, wind could not break them. Vines that wrapped a foe would drain their chakra to death. This was the signature wood release of the pacifier of chaos, the ninja god's greatest landscape technique. Nagato, who only temporarily wielded similar power via the Tobi armor, could not fathom its true scale. As he surged with sage-enhanced speed and used gravitational flight alongside Asura Path propulsion, 4 translucent purple walls rose, front, back, left, right, and a 5th sealed above. Izayoi had grown 4 enormous wood clones from the trees and cast a barrier. Before Nagato could absorb it with the animal path, the barrier's interior teemed with proliferating trunks, vines, and branches that tightened around him. Without space-time ninjutsu, there was nowhere to go. So wood release can be used like this. Amazing, Nagato admitted, no longer underestimating his opponent. He gathered his chakra, converting it into focused repulsion, and a green light shield shrouded him. As the branches closed in, the shield turned Nagato into a blinding white mass of light. That light rippled outward, engulfing the choking wood and vines and whitening the entire sealed area. Boom. Seconds later, an earth-shattering explosion echoed through the forest. The shockwave howled like a hurricane, and mountain-tall trees, harder than rock, snapped and toppled under the blast. Chapter 146, The Calamity of the Undead, a war that determines the future of the ninja world. The power of true wood release is actually this strong? In the Hidden Rain Village, Nagato's wood clone, receiving real-time updates from his true body, couldn't hide his alarm. If this kept up, things would turn sour quickly. He needed a backup plan. Nagato handed a sealed scroll to Black and White Zetsu. They opened it, nodded, and sank back into the earth until they disappeared. The wood clone watched them go, and his expression hardened. As expected, he's made his move. Is he at the battlefield with his main body or watching from above the Rain Village? Nagato thought. His mission is to take the Outer Path demonic statue back to whoever sent him. Even if he can teleport with the Flying Thunder God technique and use heavenly transfer, he hasn't appeared right beside the statue. That means he has no ocular contract with it. No matter how many times he takes it, my Rinnegan can summon it back. Actually, it's less about the statue and more about the Rinnegan. One of us will have to die. He's probably at the battlefield, ready to intervene between the main body and Izanami. Or he could be waiting above the village, trying to force the main body back by threatening Konan and the village, and might not be able to escape using Uchiha Obito's Kamui. Either way, the final battle has come. After a moment's thought, Nagato formed hand seals, knelt, and slammed his palms into the ground. Impure World Reincarnation. Outside, over the Rain Village, the sky split with a terrible sound. A mass of figures in white robes, bristling with black rods and nails, materialized, 200 of them, densely packed. The alarm bells sounded through the village. The civilians, drilled for months, dropped what they were doing and fled for the shelters. "Run! The enemy of God has arrived!" the Rain Shinobi shouted, herding people into the underground escape passages they had converted into evacuation routes. Conan descended from the sky as the ninja guided the last of the villagers below. Above the mud and the steel roofs, coffins rose and opened. Cracked, bewildered figures crawled out, some wearing vests and headbands of different nations. "Is this the living world?" One moaned. "Am I resurrected?" Another asked. Before they could fully orient themselves, those resurrected surged toward the human puppet legion, drifting down from the sky. One figure moved like lightning, a blur past a puppet. The puppet's head flew off as if struck by a divine blade. Speed like that put the wood clone controlling the puppets under enormous pressure. He split into 20 wood clones to help manage them and relayed everything back to the main body. So his setup was Edo Tensei, and the strength of the dead is nearly their lifetime peak. He must have tested it with white Zetsu clones and found that using them as sacrifices pushes the resurrected's power almost back to their living strength. Ingenious. "Let's test it, see if defeating the resurrected yields anything," he decided. With 20 wood clones assisting, the human puppet legion moved far more fluidly. The lightning-fast attacker paused mid-strike as a sword stopped the blow. The wielder was Danzo Shimura, his arm crackling with blue-white lightning, holding a sword wreathed in sharp wind-release transformation. The attacker was unmistakable, the third Raikage, towering, muscular, blue-white lightning racing across his skin, a lightning tattoo on his arm. The Raikage's indestructible handblade met Danzo's sword and was halted without so much as a nick. The third Raikage's defenses were legendary, a shield that could take a tailed beast ball and withstand S-rank techniques, and a spear that could scar that same shield. His combination of overwhelming chakra and the black lightning that immobilized opponents made him one of the 5 Kage's pinnacles. Their limits were never talent, but bloodline. If any of them had even a sliver of Otsutsuki lineage, or the chakra reserves of clans like the Senju or Uzumaki, they'd be frighteningly stronger. But there are no ifs. The Raikage's presence alone shifted the tempo of the fight. Danzo was not alone. Over 200 puppets, all channeling lightning, surged together like alternating current through Hidden Rain Village. Buildings collapsed, and many of the resurrected were smashed to dust. Pressure immediately swung back to Nagato. "Wood release, multiple wood clone technique," Nagato ordered, splitting his chakra among dozens of clones. All of them remained in the underground base where the Outer Path demonic statue sat, directing the revived dead to engage the human puppet legion. Black and White Zetsu had spent 6 months looting graves. Nagato had a deep hand of cards, not only the third Raikage, but also the second Mizukage Hozuki Gengetsu, the second Tsuchikage Mu, the fourth Mizukage Yagura, and the fourth Kazekage, 5 Kage-level warriors, resurrected and ready. Nagato even had Hashirama's cells and some remnants of the other Hokage, but he discovered, to his frustration, that he could not revive the first through fourth Hokage by Edo Tensei. Their souls had been taken by the Shinigami. He'd hoped to summon the first to learn more wood release, but the attempt failed. Those souls were gone, so for now he could only play the cards he had. Beyond the 5 Kage, his Edo army included famous dead from across the 5 great nations. Pakura of the Sand, the 7 ninja swordsmen of the Mist, Gari of Earthquake Release, the Clouds Kinkaku and Ginkaku, and powerful figures from Konoha's great clans. Over 300 resurrected fighters, from Chunin level and up, answered his call. And looming above the battle were the final combinations. Konan and the Pain's 6 Paths, while the Akatsuki's forces were on their way. With that level of power united, a large hidden village could be raised in an hour unless a full alliance of powers opposed them. In moments, Hidden Rain Village was a ruin. A spatial vortex opened over the battlefield, and the Akatsuki, in black robes with red clouds, arrived. The final battle has finally come. My turn to shine. Deidara started to crow, then froze, eyes wide. What the? Everyone knows lightning release chakra mode? Toneri's targeting me. Don't just stand there, Sasori scolded. Watch your head. This is more intense than the Great Ninja War. Why are they all puppets? No blood. What do I sacrifice to Lord Jashin? Hidan grumbled. I only agreed to support. If Toneri shows up, I'm out, Deidara said. Kisame and Kakuzu studied the human puppet legion and the Edo army fighting in the wreckage. The Akatsuki would play a supporting role, not a frontline one. These were S-rank rogues. They knew the stakes. One side was puppets, the other side was resurrected dead, both armies already without life. It would be foolhardy to throw their own lives away for a battle between dead men. Even Deidara was pulled back by Sasori and chose to assist rather than self-destruct. Explosions and elemental techniques roared. Less than 30 minutes into the battle, most of the Rain Village had been demolished. Reports filtered out through spies and summoning animals to the neighboring countries. A second round had begun. After months of silence, the sage's eye war flares up again, the shinobi murmured. Impure world reincarnation? Akatsuki has the second Hokage's forbidden jutsu. Did Orochimaru trade it? Another wondered. Human puppets and an undead army. This is an undead showdown. These two forces alone could swallow a large country. If the second round favors them, we're in real trouble. I only hope it stays balanced. If the Akatsuki leader wins, who could stop him? Someone else said. If that moon visitor is only here for the Outer Path statue and leaves afterward, I'd rather he win. This battle will decide the ninja world's future, another concluded grimly. The 5 Kaji read the reports, sighed, and urgently dispatched sensing teams toward the Land of Rain. Since Izanami was out on a mission and had not sealed a contract with Shikatsu Forest, Tsunade chose to send Hinata and Karin, one with Byakugan, the other with the mind's eye of the Kagura, to gather intel safely. Then worse news reached Tsunade. Hokage-sama, sensors detected 2 enormous chakra signatures in the eastern forest. They match Izanami and the Akatsuki leader. What? Tsunade snapped to her feet. When did that boy get to the rain? Not the rain, land of fire. 2 huge chakras burst in the eastern forest. Our returning scouts report it's Izanami and the Akatsuki leader. Call Hinata and Karin back. No, forget it. I'll go myself. Send word to the elders and Jonin to assemble for an emergency meeting. Tsunade's face was stone. Whatever was happening in the Rain Village might not directly involve Konoha, but the Akatsuki leader had apparently set his sights on Izanami, and Tsunade would not allow him to get anywhere near Konoha's future. She made the hand seals, produced a shadow clone to run the meeting, and then the real Tsunade vanished, taking Hinata and Karin, who had been filling exit paperwork, with her to the battlefield. What? The Akatsuki leader is targeting Izanami-kun? Karin demanded on the way, her face drained. Is Izanami-kun all right? She asked anxiously. I don't know. We'll see when we get there, Tsunade said grimly. I'm worried Toneri might be watching that fight like a tiger. Hinata, however, gave a faint, strange smile. Hokage-sama, you don't have to come. Izanami-kun will be fine. Tsunade halted, eyes narrowing. Why do you say that? He knows the Flying Thunder God technique, Hinata explained quietly. He mastered it long ago, but kept it hidden. He worried about revealing such a trump card. Oh right, Karin murmured, remembering Izanami spirited Hinata away last year. He kept it from me too? That brat. Tsunade was equal parts relieved and exasperated. When he comes back, I'll beat him for scaring us all like this, she vowed through clenched teeth. Continue your mission, observe Izanami's side, and relay information in real time. If Izanami retreats, go to the Land of Rain. Do not bring your main bodies near that wood-release duel. Aside from being over our heads, it's not a fight you should enter. Yes! Hinata and Karin replied together. Once the two left, Tsunade returned to the meeting. Even if Izanami's immediate safety seemed less precarious, Konoha still had to prepare. The Akatsuki leader had left the Rain Village. Toneri had likely seized the opportunity to move. If Izanami fled, the Akatsuki leader might chase him to Konoha. If Toneri watched and waited, their second battlefield could be Konoha itself. The idea chilled Tsunade. She set plans in motion. Evacuate villagers to shelters, mobilize and prepare the ninja forces for either defense or retreat. Jiraiya's ambitious disciple had set something in motion that threatened the whole world. Tsunade cursed inwardly and prayed openly, Izanami, you are Konoha's 6th Hokage, do not be harmed. Chapter 47, Wooden Man vs. Wooden Man. How tricky is wood release that requires no hand seals? The final battle in the Hidden Rain Village flared up white-hot from the start. Izayoi-kun and Nagato's clash was no less intense. The repulsive force storm, like a blinding white light, engulfed everything, destroying trees inside the barrier and shattering the 4 violet flames formation that could trap 5K level opponents. The lingering repulsive force continued to spread, tilting and snapping huge trees the size of small mountains. Many cracked and shed chunks of trunk. The area where Nagato stood was even more devastated. Boom! Nagato's body hovered in the air. Before he could catch his breath, the earth shook again. The wasteland that had been blasted into a basin sprouted countless trees, their trunks snaking like giant pythons and lashing toward Nagato. He didn't use Shinra Tensei to repel them. Instead, he turned his arms into cannon barrels and shot upward, denying Izayoi any chance to weave a trapping barrier. At first, the branches chased him, but as Nagato climbed higher, they finally gave up and retracted back into the forest. Realizing that was their reach limit, Nagato stopped ascending. He hovered using gravity, clapped his hands, and a black sphere formed between his open palms. Earth Explosion Star! He casually hurled the black orb forward. A terrifying gravitational pull swept down like a tidal wave. The earth was torn apart. Trees, boulders, and chunks of earth ripped free and launched upward. Izayoi-kun, caught in the gravity's range, was carried skyward with a massive tree. Izayoi was ready to shatter the sphere with a dust-release secret technique as he had before, but a glance at Nagato, unmoved and floating near the sphere, and the sensation of Nagato's noticeably depleted chakra made him change his mind. After some fighting, he had confirmed the animal path couldn't absorb the chakra stored in trees, only energy-type chakra. If he unleashed this sage-level dust release and Nagato absorbed it, it would replenish Nagato significantly. So Izayoi crushed the condensed chakra in his hand, slapped his palms together, and called out lightly, "Sage Technique. Wood Release, Wood Dragon Technique." A roar that shook all living things echoed through the forest. From the earth erupted a wood dragon, the size of a small mountain, tearing up through the ground. Under Nagato's wide-eyed stare, the dragon seized the Earth Explosion Star, now a meteor, in its jaws like a dragon with a pearl, then flicked its tail and sent a sweeping gust of distorted air toward the stunned Nagato. Nagato had no time to land and couldn't rely on the Asura path to fly out, so he unleashed repulsive force to resist. The next moment revealed something incredible. The distorted airflow made an invisible barrier against the dragon tail's sweep, but unlike the frozen trees, the dragon tail still advanced steadily. Nagato's repulsive force storm, which could shred a mountain and tear apart an ordinary forest, failed to blast this wood dragon away. It only barely slowed the dragon tail's approach. How dense, how heavy, how much chakra must this contain? If even a fully charged repulsive force storm couldn't destroy it, fighting prolonged exchanges would force him to keep recharging. No, he couldn't afford a drawn-out fight. While the repulsive storm lingered, Nagato descended into the forest and watched Izayoi carefully. He felt a sliver of relief. He wasn't the only one burning through chakra. Izayoi's consumption was even greater. After landing, Nagato prepared to form hand seals and spawn several wood clones to surround and trap Izayoi like Izayoi had tried. He intended to prevent Izayoi from forcing him to use Shinra Tensei repeatedly. A spatial vortex opened beside him. "Leader, I'm here to help," came a comical voice as Toby, pure white in body, flew out of a fist-sized black hole. "Toby, finally," Nagato brightened. "You came just in time. Help me take this guy down." "Yes," Toby saluted, then unfolded like some carnivorous plant and latched onto Nagato's body. Instantly, Nagato felt both his wood release and yang chakra surge. Wood release that had barely been able to contend with the forest suddenly gained the strength to wrestle for control. Even his Sage Mode-enhanced body improved further. If they entered a taijutsu clash again, Nagato, armed with Sage Chakra, the Asura Path, and Earth Release enhancements, would be no weaker against Izayoi's Earth Release, Earth Spear plus Strength of 100. "Leader, the village is under attack by Otsutsuki Toneri's puppet army. Shouldn't we go back to help?" Toby's voice sounded in his ear. Nagato calmly replied while sensing Izayoi's location. "Toneri's mission is to retrieve the Outer Path demonic statue. From our last exchange, it's clear the statue originally came from the moon, but I summoned it down here. As long as he doesn't dig out my Rinnegan, no matter where he hides it, even in another dimension, I can summon it back. His real goal is to retrieve the Rinnegan. Right now, he may be lurking where we can't see, hoping Konoha's wood release user will weaken me so he can act. I've already arranged protections. Even if the village is destroyed, There are as many Edo Tensei undead as needed, as long as everyone survives. Compared to Toneri, Konoha's wood-release ninja is the greater threat. Understood, Toby answered. Let's go, Toby. Nagato clapped. Understood, Sage Technique? Wood release, wood golem technique. Two voices overlapped in the chant. Boom. The ground convulsed, and a 100-armed Buddha statue taller than the primeval forest itself, some 150 meters, rose from the earth. So that's how it's made, Izayoi murmured. He had watched Nagato and Toby from the shadows and learned the technique. With that insight, he slapped his own hands together, pouring his vast, ocean-like sage chakra into the earth. Sage Technique. Wood release. Wood golem technique. The earth shook again. Hinata and Karin, who had rushed from Konoha and watched the battle from over 20 kilometers away using the Byakugan and the mind's eye of the Kagura, felt both tremors. What stunned them even more than the tremors were the two mountain-sized chakra masses. Karin, seeing the wood golem for the first time, trembled as she said, "That much chakra can actually be materialized? Incredible." The mind's eye of the Kagura couldn't see clearly like the Byakugan, but it could sense things the Byakugan couldn't. Karin felt astonishing vitality and aggressive power in the two massive chakras, the one being yang release, the other natural energy Izayoi had mentioned. Hinata looked at the wood golem Arhat that rose to face the 100-armed Buddha and thought, this battle shows both Izayoi and the Akatsuki leader have grown stronger. Earlier in the year, she'd seen Nagato and Toby's 100-armed Buddha at far smaller scale. Today's size was not only from amplified sage chakra, the Akatsuki leader's chakra had improved over 6 months, but Izayoi's improvement was even more dramatic. After his second growth surge, Izayoi's chakra had surged again. He no longer needed to maintain sage mode constantly, and his chakra had doubled yet again. His current chakra volume surpassed even Uzumaki Naruto's, and the Akatsuki leader's chakra paled beside it. Hinata, with battle experience and insight beyond the original, didn't feel triumphant. She was worried for Izayoi. If this continued, his situation would be dire. He can use the wood golem technique too, Nagato said, seeing Izayoi standing atop the wood human Arhat's head. Good, the target's even clearer. Leader, should I say hello? Toby asked. All right, Toby, go say hello. Understood. Toby manipulated the chakra inside the 100-armed Buddha, converting it into 5 elemental chakra natures and forming a colorful pillar of flame that shot from the Buddha's mouth toward the wood human Arhat and Izayoi. Whether struck or resisted with normal ninjutsu, that pillar would unleash world-shattering power. Even the wood human Arhat, whose hardness could take a tailed beast ball barehanded, would be left wounded. This move exceeded tailed beast level force. Not 5 separate releases, but sage technique, 5 releases. Izayoi had more than one way to counter. The simplest would be to use the wood human Arhat to form a dust release of equal rank to instantly break the sage technique, 5 releases. But he couldn't risk releasing ninjutsu now, especially large-scale wood techniques, because Nagato's animal path would simply absorb them and benefit from the sage chakra Izayoi poured out. The reincarnation-eye's chakra absorption required secrecy. So Izayoi's finger twitched. Roar! The wood dragon that had fallen earlier rose again, spat the dragon ball formed from the earth explosion star, then opened wide to swallow the oncoming pillar of flame. Its body expanded, shimmered with multicolored light, and surged toward the 100-armed Buddha. The Buddha's 100 arms reached and grabbed the charging dragon, but before they could throw it back, the expanding wood dragon exploded like a balloon into a dazzling blaze. The blast shattered the extending wooden arms and engulfed both Izayoi and Nagato. The wood human Arhat raised a hand to shield Izayoi from the heat wave, while Nagato used the animal path to block the heat and reclaim the sage chakra within it. When the flames cleared, the ground shook again. The wood human Arhat stomped forward and smashed a fist toward the 100-armed Buddha, which swung a fist to meet it. Their clash sent a hurricane-like airwave rippling through the forest they had created. Branches swayed violently. Both constructs staggered back a step, then locked in and struck again. Nagato abandoned subtlety. He raised a hand and shouted at Izayoi, "All creation of attraction." A strange gravitational force tried to yank Izayoi off the Arhat's head. A wooden shield rose in time, severing the pull. Dark silhouettes of fists, like meteorites, then plummeted toward Izayoi. From the moment Toby joined the fight, Izayoi no longer faced a one-on-one duel. He was up against two. Nagato used gravity to disrupt him, while Toby controlled the 100-armed Buddha. Impressive coordination, an attempted ambush, Izayoi said through a grin as the rain of fists closed in. But you can't begin to imagine how powerful wood release is when it doesn't require hand seals. As he spoke, a square gap opened in the wooden ground beneath Izayoi and transformed into a platform that carried him down into the wood human Arhat's head. The Arhat sprang to life. Its eyes turned gold and crimson markings flared. It raised its other hand and slammed it into the incoming downpour of fists. Thick branches erupted from the massive arm, forming gigantic wooden fists that collided with the barrage. The force made both constructs step back, arms splintering and shattering. What? Toby's comical mask dropped, disbelief audible. The user can hide inside the wood human, and that attack? No hand seals? His wood release doesn't require hand seals, Nagato replied, stunned. Toby, can you do that? Impossible, Toby said, voice full of doubt. I can manipulate the chakra inside a wood human and convert it into 5 nature's chakra and release it without seals using the wood human as a medium, but my control isn't nearly as effortless. Using the wood human to cast other wood release jutsu requires hand seals, time and preparation. His wood release has neither. He didn't use hand seals at all. How is this possible? Perhaps. This is how orthodox wood release works, Nagato conceded. Incredible. Toby, who'd never met Senju Hashirama, grew excited. Leader, capture him. If we transplant his cells, your wood release and mine will strengthen even more. That was my intention, Nagato laughed. I'll leave the wood human to you. I'll target his weakness. No problem. Toby poured chakra into the 100-armed Buddha and the shattered arms regrew. The Buddha advanced on the wood human Arhat. A wood dragon rose from the forest and circled the Arhat. The wood human Arhat's newly regrown fists swelled with blue chakra and it charged the Buddha. Can that be done too? Nagato and Toby exclaimed again. The Buddha stopped. Its 100 arms snapped outward in a furious barrage. The wood human Arhat simply punched forward. Boom! A terrifying eruption of sage chakra burst out. The Arhat's strength of 100 strikes sent a massive wave of air that shattered dozens of the Buddha's arms. The wood dragon swept its tail and broke the rest. Even after the arms were destroyed, the chakra wave still surged, engulfing Nagato. Nagato regained his composure and formed a single hand seal. He created a wood clone that spread its hands, generating a transparent white shield of light that absorbed the roaring chakra wave. The wave seemed drawn like a magnet, converging into the wood clone's body. Nagato's face lit up. It's chakra. It's absorbable. Great. Now we don't have to fear that, Toby said, relieved. I misjudged the scale of the wood human Arhat. Hidden inside the wood human Arhat's head, Izayoi thought through the exchange. Strength of 100 was the Senju's chakra storm technique. Steel Fist was one application. Like Tobirama and Hashirama, it could be used to incorporate vast chakra into presence and crack surroundings. But it was still a taijutsu release of chakra, not the 8 gates air striking that made ninjutsu effects. As long as it was chakra, the animal path could absorb it. His own released chakra hadn't been conspicuous enough for Nagato to catch and absorb, and there hadn't been time. The wood human Arhat's strength of 100 had produced an enormous, obvious chakra wave. Unless he found a weak point, he couldn't throw another fully charged punch like that. So Izayoi shifted tactics. The wood human Arhat grabbed the wood dragon's head, and in an instant the circling dragon reformed into a wooden dragon-slaying sword. That's cheating. Too much cheating, Toby cursed. This level of flexibility and form change, wood release without hand seals, it's just too much. Wood release without hand seals was indeed a cheat. Like the Uchiha's complete body Susanoo, formed of yin-release chakra and thus freely controllable, such a construct could condense chakra into swords, yasakamagatama, shields, bows and arrows, even other weapons. Izayoi's wood release, requiring no hand seals, had that same terrifying freedom. Chapter 148. After a day and a night of fighting, the points skyrocketed boom, boom, boom. The ground trembled as the wooden human Arhat, dragon slaying blade in hand, charged at the 1,000-armed Buddha statue again. Izanami controlled it without hand seals, his golden-level chakra control making the wooden construct move with the agility of a Gundam, its flexibility rivaling that of a complete-body Susanoo or a complete tailed beast transformation. The seated Buddha, by contrast, moved stiffly from its lotus platform, slow as a cart being pushed. Speed and maneuverability favored the wooden human Arhat, but the Buddha's 100 arms hit far harder, and because it was created with Sage Technique Chakra, it resembled a weakened form of Sage Artwood release, true several thousand hands. Toby, perched on the statue, manipulated the 100 massive arms into a storm of blows as the wooden human Arhat bore down. The Arhat gripped the dragon-slaying blade with both hands. The blade, a wood dragon in form, was sheathed in a white chakra aura and swung out. Fists struck the wooden titan relentlessly. Blows that could level earth and topple hills left only countless marks and cracks on the Arhat's body. They could not shove it back. The dragon-slaying blade, enhanced with wind-release nature transformation, sliced through the wooden arms one by one, clearing a path through the barrage. Nagato prepared a giant homing missile, its trail weaving through the after-images of 100 swinging fists, aimed squarely at the Arhat's right eye where golden light glowed. The Rinnegan's X-ray sensed a massive mass of chakra there. If Izanami were hiding, it would be in that eye. He had misjudged the combination of Arhat and Wood Dragon. As the missile zipped toward the target, the Arhat swung its blade, and the Wood Dragon that was the blade shifted back into living form, whipping out like a long, fast lash. The missile, unable to evade, detonated in a blaze of light. The resulting blast split the smoke and shockwave. The Arhat, scarred all over except for its head, held the dragon-slaying blade and drove forward toward Nagato, who stood atop the Buddha's head. Several of the Buddha's arms flashed out and caught the blade bare-handed, but the Arhat abandoned the weapon and punched instead. The giant hands, as if awakened, unclasped into fists and slammed into the wooden colossus. The captured blade returned to the wood dragon, burst free, and struck the Buddha's head with its tail. The force collapsed a large section of the statue's crown, sending cracks spidering outward. Both constructs reeled from the impact. The Arhat staggered back a few steps, and the Buddha more than 10. The wood dragon coiled back around the Arhat. The fractures and dents on both bodies began to knit visibly, armor of chakra and wood reforming under the constant flow of Sage Technique Chakra. Nagato returned to the Buddha's damaged head and watched as the broken arms and split crown knit themselves whole. The two colossi resumed their duel. They exchanged everything they had for a day and a night, blows aimed at each other's core, feints to force chakra expenditure, and brutal tactics to force the other to bleed out reserves faster. If the main body could not be harmed, they would force the opponent to exhaust chakra until collapse. News of the final battle in the Hidden Rain village, the confrontation between the Akatsuki leader and Konoha's wood-release prodigy, had spread across the ninja world. Even the Land of Water and the islands near the continents buzzed with the rumor. Around the ruined village, the most skilled sensing nun took turns and sent live reports by summoning beasts to their superiors. Spies filled the forest beyond the battlefield, watching the titans clash. Whether they'd witnessed the Sage's Eye duel earlier that year or not, observers stood dumbfounded at the sheer gulf in power. The 5 great nations' high councils received the feeds with grave expressions, some anxious, some elated. In Iwagakure, Onoki stared at the intelligence photographs of 2 wooden giants larger than those seen earlier in the year and muttered, feeling uncharacteristically powerless. First Hokage and Uchiha Madara had only shown super-standard power as adults. How had these 3 youths, one who'd only just graduated last year, reached such heights so young? Even Onoki, the tallest of the Kage, felt outmatched. The 4th Raikage appeared unconvinced and resentful. Chiyo and Genshi were filled with dread. 2 super-standard combatants had ended a 1,000-year warring states period and birthed the village system. If this war yielded no victor, the world might fragment even further. One misstep and a major village could be annihilated by these superpowered beings. Only Tsunade looked pleased. Seeing Hinata and Karen's live transmission, she felt a thrill. She had long hoped Konoha would have its own super-standard power. She'd assumed mastering the wooden human technique required years, 20 years, a fully matured body. But Izanami had hidden his strength and revealed it earlier than anyone expected. She laughed and scolded inwardly at his cautiousness. By dawn of the second day, both constructs moved slower, their arm regrowth and wound recovery markedly reduced. Nagato panted, sweat running down his face as the Rinnegan's glow dimmed in the wooden human Arhat's golden eye. Toby's voice on the Buddha sounded weak. My chakra's been drained for a long time. If Leader weren't supplying me with chakra, I wouldn't have lasted. Nato scanned the Arhat's interior with the Rinnegan and saw a mass of chakra still in good condition, better than his own. He hadn't used Super Shinra Tensei. It could blow the Arhat away, but likely wouldn't kill Izanami and would consume unacceptable amounts of chakra. He'd relied on Asurapath attacks now and then to try to strike the Arhat's eye and pry Izanami out, but failed every attempt. So he and Toby traded wood-human technique blows, draining each other's reserves. Without Toby's support, Nagato would have long since been depleted. Slowly, the tide turned. As Izanami's Sage Sneak chakra tapered off, his wood-human technique weakened. What had been Sage Art Wood Release, wood-human technique degenerated into ordinary wood release. Nagato had lost his Sage mode 2 hours before Izanami. Those had been the 2 hardest hours. Without Sage amplification, the Arhat's defense and strength dropped. The barrage of 100 arms hurt the wooden giant badly. The Arhat's chakra spent to heal exceeded the Buddha's. The big advantage the Buddha had briefly gained narrowed to a sliver. Izanami, who had upgraded his Sage body and rebounded to a golden-level wood release, was satisfied. He'd managed to draw on his Otsutsuki bloodline to bypass hand seals and extend Sage mode far longer than normal. Izanami also relished a different kind of reward, his human puppet legion in the Hidden Rain. By defeating Edo Tensei resurrected powerful foes, he could gain entries, a form of equipment drop, even if the enemy had only a soul left. Sealed foes were immediately sent away by his puppets, so Nagato couldn't reclaim them. Nagato's casualties were real losses. Izanami's losses produced returns. Izanami watched the points climb, from 7-9 to 8-5-6-1-9. At this rate, by the end of the battle, or with a couple of golden entries from Nagato, he could hit 990,000. He peered through a small window at Nagato on the Buddha's head, fervor in his eyes. Victory, he thought, was certain. Then Nagato's pupils widened. Someone had appeared beside Izanami suddenly. An instant later, a wood clone reunited with him. Flying Thunder God technique? He knows Flying Thunder God? Toby's voice trembled. Could he be Otsutsuki Toneri? Nagato's frown deepened. From the Rinnegan, he saw Izanami's previously drained chakra surge back to vigor as if replenished. Sage mode, activate, Izanami declared, slapping his hands together. He didn't climb back inside the Arhat's head. Instead, he poured a massive dose of Sage Technique chakra into the Arhat and drove it at the Buddha. Izanami, that bastard, I'm being sucked dry. Naruto's shout came from afar. In Konoha, Uzumaki Naruto lay on the ground, voice weak. A summoned emergency squad looked on. Sasuke sneered, your chakra's useless. Might as well hand it over to Izanami. Kakashi crouched and patted Naruto's head with a wry smile. If Izanami wins, Naruto, you'll be Konoha's hero. Sakura surveyed the emptying village. Most citizens had fled to shelters, and sighed. The scale of the fight had brought the village to a state of high alert. For the first time, she truly felt the terror of superstandard combat power. Leader, what do we do now? Toby's voice was sharp as he watched the fully healed wooden human Arhat charging toward them. Do we give up the hunt, or use the trump cards? Nagato frowned. Izanami's strength had far exceeded his expectations. He had assumed this operation would be easy, capture Izanami and use her power to bolster himself and the White Zetsu army. He had not expected that, besides the visitor from the moon, Otsutsuki Toneri, the ninja world could hide someone like Izanami. To possess such extraordinary combat ability at her age was monstrous. After a day and a night of brutal fighting, they were finally gaining the upper hand. Izanami, who unexpectedly knew the Flying Thunder God technique, had even sent a wood clone forward to absorb the Nine Tails chakra as preparation. Her combination of strength and intellect rivaled Toneri's, except unlike Toneri's distance-based threat, her wood release could counter his Six Paths techniques. If Nagato did not merge with Toby, Izanami might be in even greater danger. He made his decision. Use the trump cards, Toby. We'll take her down together. Yosh, let's do it, leader. Toby detached from Nagato's form. Nagato vanished from the top of the thousand-armed Buddha and reappeared on the ground, forming hand signs. He slammed his palms into the earth and shouted, "Summoning technique, outer path, demonic statue." At the village's underground command center, the Nagato wood clones that had been directing the Edo Tensei and puppet armies leapt from the statue. The demonic statue erupted into a thick cloud of white smoke and dissolved. One of the wood clones called into the dark, "Use the trump cards." No answer came from the shadows, but in Nagato's Rinnegan vision, a chunk of chakra vanished. Izanami's wood clone witnessed the same disappearance. On the battlefield, Danzo Shimura, who had been locked with Tendo Pain, suddenly blinked out of existence. Tendo immediately widened his awareness, searching for Danzo, but the man had gone. A few seconds later, Danzo reappeared and resumed his attack as if nothing had happened. A short time earlier, in a fog-bound mountain area of the Land of Water, Danzo's figure had appeared out of nowhere. His left eye spun with that shuriken-like pattern, and he used Kamui to slip a wood clone, the one that had absorbed the Six Tails chakra, altered its signature, and taken on the appearance of Otsutsuki Toneri, into the Kamui dimension. Inside Kamui, Obito stood with a collection of white Zetsu clones, 2 of Nagato's wood clones, and 2 captives. "That brat actually forced you to use a trump card?" he asked, incredulous. "Your wood clone saw it," one of the Nagato clones replied coldly. "Her wood release is second only to the fused main body and Toby. Her sage mode outclasses the main bodies." Obito's eyes darkened beneath his mask. Toneri still hasn't presented himself. Could she be him? Wood clones can alter their chakra signatures. Nagato leaned in. When she entered sage mode, her pupils shifted from blue to gold. Can a sage's eye revert? Obito fell silent, dismissing the thought. They did not know that a sage's eye, if it evolved on its own, could return to normal. "Her intelligence is frightening," Nagato said. She sent a wood clone back with Flying Thunder God to absorb the Nine Tails chakra, exactly the same preparation the main body made. The 2 Nagato wood clones grabbed their captives by the throats and began laughing as they drew chakra from them. "Even with Flying Thunder God," one sneered, "facing the combined power of the Outer Path demonic statue and wood human technique, she'll lose unless she abandons the will of fire and flees Konoha alone." The captives were the 5 Tails and the 7 Tails Jinchuriki. Earlier that year, after Nagato had recovered much of his strength, Toby had told him that Tailed Beast chakra could replenish him. Absorbing the 8 Tails chakra was what had allowed him to fight Otsutsuki Toneri to a stalemate. Since then, Nagato had sent white Zetsu clones to monitor every Jinchuriki. When the final confrontation erupted, Nagato had thrown 2 wood clones into Kamui to accompany Obito's clone in rounding up Akatsuki members and securing the roaming 5 and 7 Tails, intended as nuclear-scale power banks for Toby and the main body. Obito watched Nagato now with a mixture of fear and something darker, dread. Nagato's recovery had been more than physical. His strategic sense had sharpened into something almost alien. If Obito had known what Nagato's mind had become, he might never have helped restore him in the first place. He didn't understand that extracting so many souls through the human path, reading memories, and observing countless lives had given Nagato the mental groundwork for a breakthrough. As the Nagato clones drained the Jinchuriki, Obito and the white Zetsu near him suddenly went still, expressions slapping into disbelief. "This chakra," Nagato's voice cut through, raw with shock and anger. "Uchiha Obito, you betrayed me." Obito's face, hidden by his white mask, tightened. How could he even enter Kamui? Panic flared through him. Kamui phasing and Izanagi were his trump cards, the reasons he had dared to bring Nagato and Itachi into the Kamui dimension in the first place. So long as his main body was safely phased in Kamui, no attack could touch him. He could teleport anywhere, crossing barriers and sensing. Now, though, a second presence was in Kamui, someone else able to pass between dimensions. Obito's composed mask crumpled into terror. Green beams cut through the Kamui darkness and streaked toward them. "Run!" Obito snapped. "We can't be separated by him." Obito ripped one Nagato wood clone and the 7 Tails Jinchuriki with him and phased back out of Kamui through a palm-sized black hole. The remaining Nagato clone released the five tails and fired a finger missile at the incoming green lights. Missiles and beams collided in flashes that carried no audible explosions. As each missile burst, its flames and chakra were absorbed by the green light. One beam pierced through and shot straight at Nagato. Nagato threw up the Animal Path's transparent white chakra shield. The beam slammed into it and could not be absorbed as usual. Instead, the beam's chakra was siphoned directly into the shield and seeped into Nagato. It was chakra-absorbing chakra. Nagato could shrug it off, but the five tails beside him couldn't. The beam passed through him and his remaining chakra was drained flat. The beam retreated to the darkness and condensed into a green orb. Izanami, disguised as Otsutsuki Toneri, glided out of the shadows, clutching the orb. She absorbed it. A rush of chakra flooded her. "How did you do that?" Nagato asked, voice level but cold. "This is a difference in eyes," Izanami said with a sneer. "Nothing in the ninja world is hidden from my reincarnation eye. You monkeys may have sharp sight, but you're arrogant. You didn't think to retrieve the other eye. You left that flaw and gave me the opening. Who taught you such hubris?" "You can read lips," Nagato said, understanding dawning, his face hardening. He had underestimated the Uchiha Mangekyo. He had assumed each eye had different abilities like Itachi's, never considering that the same dojutsu could be present in both eyes. Careless. Fatal. "Uchiha Obito, you idiot," both Nagato and Black Zetsu thought in the same instant, fury and disbelief mingling. Better to fear a god than a pig-like teammate. None of it was more true than now. Obito grasped the seriousness of it too. He didn't wait for Izanami to press her advantage. The masked man phased out again from the Kamui hole, appearing beside Nagato's other wood clone. He forced them, and the drained Five Tails Jinchuriki, through the hole and back to the battlefield. Izanami's wood clone had not stopped him. Its mission was simply to sever their ability to escape via space-time ninjutsu. Meanwhile, outside, the main body of Izanami erupted with power. A massive cloud of white smoke blasted up from the forest with a sound like an avalanche. When the smoke parted, the watching shinobi across the surrounding lands saw a new monstrous form, like the wooden human, but more human in shape, with 10 pillar-like protrusions along its back and 9 eyes sealed across its face. "What is that thing? Is that wood release? I could barely sense any chakra. How is that possible?" Their radios and channels lit up as reports flew back to the high commands. On the battlefield, the 3 giant figures froze like players caught mid-move. The wooden human Arhat halted when it saw the new adversary. Izanami herself stopped, wary and focused. Nagato's face went utterly dark. Since his recovery and his new handsome appearance, Nagato had maintained an unshakable calm. His strategic mind had forced the White Zetsu army to fall in line. Even after a day and night of combat, with Toneri potentially waiting in the wings, Nagato had confidence. Now, though, the urge to kill throbbed through him. Whatever calm he'd kept had burned away. Space warped beside Nagato. Obito, carrying his wood clone and the Seven Tails Jinchuriki, winked into existence by the 1,000-armed Buddha. He disregarded Nagato's killing glare, let Tobi attach to his back, and phased back into Kamui. A moment later, he returned and brought Nagato's other wood clone, the Five Tails Jinchuriki, and something else on his back, a fan with a chained haft, the Uchiha clan's flame release fan, made from a fragment of the god tree. He had yanked it out of the Kamui dimension with them. Obito did not look triumphant. He looked hollow. He knew he had only one more chance to return to Kamui, and before doing so, he had to activate Izanagi. The thought that Toneri, main body or clone, might be waiting for him in Kamui had shaken him to the core. Without Kamui phasing, he was exposed. On this battlefield, even with his stolen wood release and the Uchiha secrets, he was at best on par with the 5 great shinobi countries' top fighters. Against Nagato, Izanami, or Otsutsuki-level power, he was nothing. He strode to the Seven Tails Jinchuriki. "Tobi, absorb her chakra," he ordered. Tobi, still riding on his back, complained as he siphoned the Jinchuriki's remaining chakra. "Obito, you're pathetic. You're so weak. Your chakra is terrible. If I attach to you, I might not even be able to use the Tree World Advent." Nagato's disdain was blunt. "Give Tobi to my wood clone. Let him control the wooden human while you go back and retrieve your other eye." "Other eye?" Obito blinked, thinking of Kakashi Hatake. a memory clicked into place. That guy can read lips. When your identity got exposed, he learned who you were. Nagato's irritation boiled over. The Mangekyo Sharingan can have the same dojutsu in both eyes. You knew you were exposed. Why didn't you retrieve the other eye? You left such a gaping flaw for the enemy. Obito fell silent, the weight of the accusation heavy. In the original story that had rocked the ninja world, he had been the hidden hand. But here, because of Izanami's plot knowledge and the single oversight of not securing his other eye, he had been outplayed like a fool. Izanami hadn't heard Nagato and Uchiha Obito's conversation. At that moment, he was receiving real-time updates from the Wood clone and felt his own surprise deepen. He hadn't expected Nagato's trump card to be the same as his, a massive chakra reservoir prepared in advance, almost like a nuclear power bank. The difference was, Nagato had taken 2 Jinchuriki, whereas Izanami had targeted only the Yin Ninetales. The whole final battle had gone far beyond Izanami's expectations. Originally, Izanami had planned for the final confrontation to happen in the Hidden Rain village, where Otsutsuki Toneri would lead his human puppet legion, powered by the Yin Ninetales chakra, to crush the Akatsuki. But before Izanami could put on his disguise and act, Nagato had sought him out and forced Izanami into a leading role in this endgame. Even with the unexpected twists, Izanami still felt the tempo of the fight was under his control. Now the Wood clone had slipped into the Kamui dimension, and Obito couldn't escape with Nagato and Tobi. The Outer Path demonic statue and the Jinchuriki had both been revealed. The next clash would be the decisive showdown with every trump card on the table. But the wooden golem Arhat, facing 2 opponents, was no match for the combined Outer Path demonic statue and the 100-armed Buddha. Izanami's current sage body and sage chakra couldn't perform Hashirama's sage artwood release, true several thousand hands summit Buddha. He needed outside help. Without waiting for Nagato or Obito to decide, Izanami looked up at the blue sky and shouted, loud enough to carry across the battlefield. "Hey, Otsutsuki Toneri, I know you're watching. If you don't move soon, I'll run if I can't win." "Move," Nagato snapped. He had been recovering chakra while recalling a Wood clone. At Izanami's threat, he used all creation of attraction. The invisible gravitational pull yanked Izanami off the wooden golem Arhat's head. Obito, brought back to the top of the 100-armed Buddha by Nagato's Wood clone, was dragged with him. Tobi, having recovered chakra, detached from Obito and latched back onto Nagato's Wood clone, taking control of the 100-armed Buddha to assist the Outer Path demonic statue. As Izanami was yanked off, his figure vanished without warning. The wooden golem, Arhat's eyes flashed gold and red shadow returned to their corners. It roared, spread its hands, and 2 wooden dragons burst from the forest below. Their heads were gripped like sword hilts and transformed into twin dragon-slaying blades. The 3 colossal beings moved, each step making the ground tremble. The sound and vibration reached Shinobi watching from other lands. "Is the outcome about to be decided?" someone whispered. "It used to be 1-on-1 and they fought all day without a winner. Now it's 2 against 1. Konoha's Wood release will lose." The Akatsuki leader had such a technique hidden away. Could that be the Outer Path demonic statue Toneri wanted? "Send this back, now." The onlookers realized the statue might be the treasure Toneri had been after and hurried to send word. Then the 100-armed Buddha suddenly stopped. "Be careful, Shinra Tensei," Nagato's Wood clone warned. It unleashed an invisible, repulsive wave that sent Obito flying. Before Obito could react, red powder burst in the air a short distance away and a dazzling blue flash streaked toward him. By canceling its invisibility, the flash revealed itself through his Mangekyo Sharingan, a sword charged with wind-release nature transformation, flying straight at Obito's chest. If it struck, it would pierce him. Obito didn't hesitate. He activated Izanagi and twisted into the Kamui dimension, escaping the attack and the battlefield. When the red powder cleared, Danzo Shimura appeared in midair, flying backward and using Kamui against Nagato's Wood clone. Space in his left arm rippled. Nagato's Wood clone's expression went pale, and it vanished with a body flicker. A fist-sized black hole opened in the warped space, a hair's breadth slower, and the Wood clone and Tobi would have been finished. "So his other eye is Kamui," Nagato muttered. The real Danzo, having failed to instantly kill the clone, shifted the Kamui black hole while falling toward the forest, ripping apart the 100-armed Buddha's lotus base and destabilizing it. Then, using the Flying Thunder God technique, Danzo disappeared and teleported away. One Danzo had managed to restrain the 100-armed Buddha. Such was the terrifying power of the strongest Mangekyo Sharingan. Meanwhile, the wooden golem Arhat and the outer path demonic statue had already clashed. The dragon-slaying sword struck down, but the statue raised its arms to block, the impact sending waves of air outward. Trees formed by wood release swayed under the shock. Even though the swords were wind-enhanced and sharp enough to split mountains, they couldn't sever the statue's palms. Though the Ten Tails chakra was drained, the outer path demonic statue's husk still had stubborn vitality. Its strength rivaled that of tailed beastified Jinchuriki. Lightning crackled from the statue's 10 pillar-like protrusions, and huge bolts lanced at the wooden golem Arhat. The Arhat released the swords, covered its face, and was knocked back by the strikes. The statue roared and opened its massive mouth to unleash a purple chakra dragon. Seeing it, Izanami's face finally showed concern. He abandoned the Arhat and vanished. The chakra dragon pierced the Arhat from chest to back, growing fat as it passed and consuming most of the Sage Technique chakra inside it. The technique, born of Prita and human path abilities, could ignore physical defenses, drain chakra and soul on contact, and served as the statue's ultimate attack. But there was a cost. Nagato, standing atop the statue's head, had reinserted black receivers into his back. Only having acquired 6 paths abilities and yin-yang receivers from Obito, Nagato couldn't create a steady conduit like Obito and Madara had. He had to violently force chakra into the statue through his body to spawn the chakra dragon. The dragon failed to finish Izanami, but had grown stronger by devouring the Arhat's sage chakra. As Nagato was about to look for Izanami, spatial distortion flared nearby again. Nagato's face went pale, and he instinctively used the Prita path. The path's absorption failed to affect the warped space. With no time to order the statue to recall the chakra dragon, Nagato severed the black receivers linking him to the statue and vanished. The uncontrolled dragon roared and slammed into the ground. A blinding white light flared. Boom! A cataclysmic explosion tore the forest apart, forming a huge mushroom cloud. The blast wind swept outward and engulfed the distant shinobi watching the melee. Those who hadn't rooted themselves with chakra were flung into trees or rocks, coughing blood. Even those who braced themselves were pushed back. When the gale subsided, the onlookers stared at the mushroom cloud, far more terrifying than a tailed beast ball, and many felt their legs tremble. This is insane," one muttered. "I almost died just now. Even from here it reached us. Is this super-level combat? What was that dragon? Why was its blast so destructive? No wonder Toneri wanted that statue. Something this powerful, stronger than a tailed beast, belongs sealed on the moon." They had no idea the explosion's ferocity came from the chakra dragon having devoured the Arhat sage chakra. The more chakra it absorbed, the stronger the blast. If the statue had recovered it, Nagato would have gained chakra, not lost it. But there are no ifs in battle. He had tried to use the chance to kill Izanami and had overlooked Danzo. The Prita path couldn't absorb Kamui's spatial distortion. Staying would be death. When the dust cleared and the 3 titans reappeared, they looked battered. The wooden golem Arhat had taken the brunt of the blast and been mostly torn away. A large section of its back and the left half of its body were gone, only its legs and the right half remained. The 100-armed Buddha was cracked but repairable with chakra. The outer path demonic statue, unsurprisingly, was unbroken. As the 10 Tails husk, ordinary high-level jutsu couldn't touch it. Only 6 paths level power, space-time ninjutsu, or exceptional taijutsu and sage techniques could harm it. Yet even it looked bound, tree branches coiled around it, and red torii gates pinned its limbs and neck to the ground. "Leader, should we retreat?" Tobi asked from an arm of the 100-armed Buddha, having returned to Nagato's main body. He watched Izanami on the outer path demonic statue, and Danzo hiding somewhere unknown. The brazen, taunting side of Tobi had been beaten out of him. He now showed fear. Nagato had forced out all the black receivers and used them to heal. Recalling the wood clone fully into his body, he spoke softly. "Tobi, I'll hold them. You go on." "Huh, leader, aren't you coming?" Toby asked, surprised. Nagato was calm. I can't leave. One mistake and the whole game is lost. I prepared thoroughly for this final battle. I succeeded because of Kamui, and I failed because of Kamui. I intended to use the Kamui dimension to imprison Jinchuriki as a chakra source and escape at critical moments, but I overlooked Obito's left eye and the fact that Kakashi, copy ninja Kakashi Hatake, also has a Sharingan with subtlety. Toneri seized that point and blocked my retreat. I have to fight to the death now. There was no reluctance in Nagato's face, only relief and conviction. After regaining peak strength, he had been waging a game of wills with Toneri. He'd prepared the reanimation technique and had black and white Zetsu steal bodies from the 5 great nations, cemeteries, to assemble countless powerful subordinates. Toneri, meanwhile, had amassed an enormous chakra reserve for the human puppet legion. If Nagato had gone to war with Toneri in the rain from the start, the outcome might have been different. Nagato had even sent a wood clone to capture 2 Jinchuriki, planning contingencies and retreat routes. He had not expected Toneri's preparations and Danzo's hidden eye to be superior. Danzo had struck the battle's weakest point, lethal and unforeseen. Go, Nagato told Toby. Don't die with me. Toby didn't argue. Instead, he sent orders to Black and White Zetsu. Black Zetsu, still harboring hatred for Obito, revealed a crooked smile when he got the message. Black and White Zetsu submerged into the earth and vanished, setting whatever next move they had into motion. Chapter 151. Uchiha Madara, Konan, my wood clone's chakra is nearly depleted. I can no longer control the 6 paths of pain. In the sky, the Tendo Pain looked down at the battlefield and told Konan beside him in a calm voice, the fight around the main body will take some time to finish. Take Yahiko's body and leave for now. Wait until the main body can reconnect to the Tendo Pain's signal. Understood. Konan did not hesitate. She used the dance of the Shikigami to gather countless sheets of paper, wrapped Tendo Pain in them, and flew away from the hidden rain village, carrying Yahiko. After a day and a night of fighting, everyone from Akatsuki except Konan had long since withdrawn. Even Kisame Hoshigaki, now a tailless shell of his former power, could not maintain his chakra for that long. The human puppet legion's lightning release chakra mode and their use of the Flying Thunder God technique countered Kisame's water release and chakra absorption. In a battlefield pitting the puppet army against the reanimation jutsu forces, the living were at a real disadvantage. To Otsutsuki Toneri, killing a puppet was merely destroying a piece of material. Corpses could be supplied from the 5 great shinobi countries at will. But if his side's living fighters were wounded or killed, it was irreparable. The puppets bled no blood. The lightning release chakra mode neutralized Deidara's explosive clay. Hidan and Deidara, for all their bravado, were unwilling to go all out, and the others had withdrawn as well. Nagato had no real objection. Indeed, he had tacitly approved the departure. Asking them to fight to the death against undead was asking too much. It was enough that they had tied up part of the human puppet force. After a day and a night of battle, the human puppet legion's advantage had steadily eroded. Half of the 9 tails' chakra might have been greater than a full 8 tails, but it was not infinite. The Edo Tensei forces had inexhaustible chakra and effectively immortal bodies. If the puppets could not use sealing techniques within the brief moments when the Edo Tensei repaired their bodies, all earlier attacks were just wasted chakra. At first, Izanami's wood clone and Nagato's wood clone couldn't attend to every puppet and reanimated shinobi. But as more puppets and undead were lost, the workload per wood clone shrank. The battle morphed from chaotic one-on-one skirmishes into coordinated, tacit teamwork. Severely damaged puppets were not left to be smashed. Izanami's wood clone would prevent the Edo Tensei from finishing them off, instead using the Flying Thunder God technique to evacuate them, or having other puppets use Heavenly Transfer to spirit the damaged bodies away. Likewise, if an Edo Tensei body was blown apart, other undead would stop the puppets from sealing it. As a result, losses mounted primarily on the puppet side. Their lead turned into a liability. If they could not seal the Edo Tensei, they could not earn new entries on their tally. Izanami's points plateaued. Nagato's side looked better, but not by much. Wood clones only needed small amounts of chakra to command reanimated soldiers. Otherwise, a day and a night of fighting would have exhausted everything. Meanwhile, the wood clone controlling the 6 paths of pain was barely hanging on. With the Akatsuki withdrawn and no chakra resupply in sight, when Nagato's wood clones dispersed automatically, the Edo Tensei would lose their Kage-level controllers. If Nagato did not restore their will, the reanimated would become mindless puppets driven by instinct, and then the depleted human puppet legion might regain the advantage. "I'm sorry, Conan." As Conan flew away, Nagato's wood clone controlled Shindo to perform the reverse summoning technique, leaving Conan a simple last will before severing the signal link to the 6 paths. In a low voice, he said, "I am afraid I cannot realize Yahiko's dream. I hope you won't end your life. Live well, for Yahiko and for me. Leader, we still have hope." Just as Nagato began recalling his other wood clones to recover chakra, preparing to fight on to the bitter end and die with honor, a slightly hoarse voice drifted up to him. A half of black and white Zetsu rose from the ground and spoke. "Zetsu, you didn't leave?" Nagato asked, surprised. He had assumed both Zetsu had withdrawn, along with Uchiha Obito. Weren't they all on the same side? "Leader, we still have a trump card." Black and white Zetsu produced a scroll. "If you use this Edo Tensei trump card, you can definitely turn the tide." Nagato felt no joy. Instead, he asked pointedly, "If you had such a trump card, why didn't you use it sooner?" "Because Obito wouldn't let us," Black Zetsu admitted, selling out Uchiha Obito without hesitation. "He said if this trump card fell into your hands, you might not need him anymore." Nagato was silent, and a troubling realization settled in his mind. Uchiha Obito did not seem to be on the same side as black and white Zetsu. What Obito had said to him in the Kamui dimension, the story about the Uchiha bearing the fate of guiding the Rinnegan wielder, was a lie. Nagato's Rinnegan hadn't been wholly his to begin with. Someone else had planted it early on. Both he and Obito had been pawns. Black and white Zetsu were likely monitors placed on both of them. Only then would Obito be wary of Zetsu, and only then would he have abandoned Nagato without hesitation. Nagato had a guess about the trump card, but he wanted to be sure. "Open it," he ordered. "Yes." Black and white Zetsu didn't know Nagato's inner conclusion. They opened the scroll and released its contents. A bang and choking smoke filled the air, and a body repaired with Hashirama cells, white Zetsu tissue, and the outer path demonic statue's power, restored not to the aged state at death but to prime, appeared. Seeing the corpse, Nagato's eyes widened. He breathed, "Uchimadara." The first Hokage's soul has been sealed away by the Shinigami, but the body of the ninja world's Asura is in our hands, Black Zetsu said. With a white Zetsu clone as a sacrifice, Madara's power will be nearly as strong as in life. If the leader lends his strength, you can fully control Madara's body. If another super-level combatant appears, we can turn the battle. "Just Edo Tensei?" Nagato asked, half smiling. "This is the impure world reincarnation?" White Zetsu's face dulled. Black Zetsu hesitated, then gave a strange, wounded smile. "Leader, you changed too much. We could only do this inferior method." Nagato's expression stiffened. He looked at Black Zetsu, who detached from White Zetsu and, moving through the ground, possessed Nagato's wood body. Calmly he asked, "Does Tobi have this ability too?" "Tobi is a simple child. His task was to prevent you, leader, from destroying the Rinnegan." Black Zetsu sighed as his lower half pushed through the earth and possessed Nagato's body. He then manipulated Nagato to form hand seals and intoned, "We only meant to restore you to your prime so you could oppose Otsutsuki Toneri. We didn't expect you to change so drastically. As Lord Madara's carefully chosen genius who awakened both Whirlpool and Senju blood, you were the perfect candidate for transplanting the Rinnegan." A white Zetsu clone emerged from the ground. Black Zetsu and Nagato's wood clone intoned in unison, "Ninja art, impure world reincarnation." The tadpole-shaped incantation rippled outward. Screams echoed as a vast, shocking concentration of chakra blossomed in the dark underground base. A voice, dominant and tinged with curious approval, sounded over them. "Finally, this day has come. That kid Nagato has finally grown." Standing before them, a man in a black, close-fitting combat suit with layered red armor, long black hair, and fissures running across his body smiled. Black and white Zetsu grinned and said together, "Lord Madara, welcome back. You've done well, Black Zetsu, White Zetsu, and Nagato." Madara was about to praise them when he lowered his gaze, frowning. His hands gave off a white glow, but there was no real sensation, no sense of continuity. No sensation of continuity. This is Edo Tensei, not the reincarnation Tensei no Jutsu. Forgive us, Lord Madara. There were complications in the plan. We had to revive you this way. Black Zetsu apologized. Madara said nothing. He quickly formed a hand seal, then slammed his palm into the ground. The white light that had bound him dissipated. Nagato's main body instantly lost control of Uchiha Madara. What's happening? Madara asked, regaining his bearings. Black Zetsu detached from Nagato's wood clone and latched onto Madara's body. Information and images poured into Madara's mind in an instant. Moon Visitor, Otsutsuki Toneri, Reincarnation Eye, retrieving the Outer Path demonic statue, Izanami. Madara absorbed it swiftly. A look of keen interest spread across his face. Interesting. The ninja world hides such secrets. No wonder you used this route to bring me back. You've done well. This era is even more exciting than yours, Lord Madara, more so than Hashirama's, White Zetsu teased. Ha, Madara scoffed, folding his arms. It's not yet in the same league. He spoke with cold pride. The meteor showers, the heavenly obstacle destroys stars, and the wood human technique impressed him little. Compared to Hashirama Senju's sage artwood release, true. Several thousand hands, the wooden golem Arhat was only an ornament on the thousand-handed Buddha. When fully restored and back in possession of the Rinnegan, he would control the Outer Path demonic statue outright and unlock the Rinnegan's exclusive technique, Limbo Border Jail. If the Reincarnation Eye's performance stopped where it was, it would be nothing. The Rinnegan, we were meant to inherit it, after all. Nagato's voice reached him. Nagato had regained control of his body and showed neither fear nor panic. Madara looked at him with eyes that glittered with appreciation. You held out against those two brats until now. You are exactly the one I would choose. Revive me, Nagato. This is your mission. Is Uchiha Obito your pawn? Nagato asked. Yes, he is my instrument, Madara replied without evasion. Your goal is to gather the 9-tailed beasts, revive the Outer Path demonic statue, become the 10 Tails Jinchuriki, and use the greatest chakra to force the entire ninja world into one dream. Nagato pressed. How do you know this? Did Obito tell you? Madara asked, surprised. Nagato listened as Madara confirmed. Yes, my objective aligns with yours in one respect, peace. But whereas you use deterrent force, I want to sever the world's causality and build eternal peace. Don't you realize this will cause humanity's extinction? Nagato asked, repeating a question he'd once posed to Obito. Humanity will not be destroyed, Madara answered with a cold smile. If I become the 10 Tails Jinchuriki, I will be like the second Six-Path Sage, possessing absolute, unrivaled power. I will let most of humanity sink into a blissful dream. A small portion will be left to reproduce, then they will be returned to the dream. This cycle continues. And when you die? Nagato asked. I will not die, Madara said, spreading his hands, confidence absolute, just as I stand before you now. Nagato fell silent. After a long pause, he spoke slowly. Isn't that just another form of escapism? Yes, Madara agreed, unprovoked. Unlike Obito, he met Nagato's criticism calmly, his eyes reflecting a bitter wisdom. But in a world devoured by endless war, where lifespans are short and human nature is rotten, this world is like hell. Countless people would choose this escapism. They need a savior, and I will be their savior. But you're robbing people of their true happiness, Nagato countered. War always has sacrifices, but the Eye of the Moon plan is different. There are always sacrifices in war as well, Madara said, his voice firm. I will deprive a portion of people of reality, yes, but I will give everyone else eternal happiness. Sever the causality that says peace must be matched with war, success with failure, health with illness. Is that not worth it? Nagato listened to Madara speak with the same purity he had once seen in Yahiko. No hypocrisy, only conviction. He had no retort. At last he sighed. This is not the peace that Yahiko and I wanted. That is what I admire about you, Nagato, Madara said, smiling. Your way of aiming for peace is similar to Hashirama's. You truly are a descendant of the Whirlpool and Senju lines, but the current ninja world is the product of your and Hashirama's methods. Since that is so, why not join me in forging a different peace? I will do one thing to show you good faith, Nagato said. I will revive you and return the Rinnegan to you, but I will remain an observer. If this peace cannot be achieved, I will release all of humanity. Madara reached out his hand toward Nagato. Join me in severing the world's causality, Nagato. For a moment, Nagato's eyes trembled, then he hardened with resolve. No, I still believe this is not the peace Yahiko and I wanted, but I will revive you and return the Rinnegan. I will witness what you do. Trust me, the world will become better, Madara insisted, his expression resolute. Black Zetsu, who had detached from Madara and stood silently nearby, remembered the 1,000 years of plotting that had led to this moment. The memory alone kept him from grinning outright. Chapter 152, Ninja Shura Resurrection. The level above the red entry. Is this the army of that Otsutsuki Toneri? On the rooftop of the Hidden Rain Village's last remaining steel building, protected by a barrier, Uchiha Madara stood with his arms crossed, looking down at the human puppet legion and the reanimation army below, which had been fighting uncompromisingly for a day and a night. Neither side showed signs of fatigue. He observed, there are no chakra strings. They have yin-yang receivers stuck to them, but their eyes haven't turned into that reincarnation eye. It's not the same as the Rinnegan's Six Paths technique. The source of that reincarnation eye must be the same as the Rinnegan's, both coming from the Six Paths sage. He was probably an Otsutsuki. Nagato, standing beside him, asked, "So the Rinnegan is the pinnacle of the Sharingan?" "You could put it that way," Madara replied. "When the two extremes become one, you can obtain the power of all creation." The two extremes becoming one? Nagato blinked, but before he could press the matter further, Madara lowered his hands, a small smile on his lips, and said, "Fine, let's test it." He formed hand signs and shouted a jutsu Nagato knew all too well. Wood release, advent of a world of flowering trees. The earth trembled and jagged cracks crawled across the ground. Thick trunks and massive branches, wide enough for a dozen people to hug, burrowed up like sleeping pythons and exploded through the steel building. The green tide surged outward in an instant, swallowing the battlefield. As it advanced, the green deepened, and countless branches and leaves sprouted. Wherever it passed, colossal trees were left standing in its wake. That chakra is his. The butterfly effect has shown itself again, Nagato noted. Izanami's wood clone, witnessing everything, transmitted the scene back to his main body in real time. He immediately took control of the remaining human puppet legion and used the Flying Thunder God technique to teleport them away. A few puppets were caught and submerged by the tree tide. Their chakra was instantly drained by the branches. The others vanished without a trace. "Is that Tobirama's Flying Thunder God technique?" Madara frowned. "That style is just as underhanded as his." Nagato warned, "Don't focus only on this front. That Otsutsuki Toneri's reincarnation eye has absurd long-range vision and X-ray ability. He can even read lips. Our presence and this conversation may have been seen. If his main body and Izanami coordinate and Danzo uses Kamui to assist, my main body and Tobi might not last long." "Don't worry," Madara said confidently. "He'll be here in just over 10 seconds. No sooner had he spoken than space before them rippled. A distorted figure sprang out. Uchiha Obito, his mask missing a corner on the left, his forehead and face scarred, and his Sharingan, 3 Tome, flashing red. Nagato's expression tightened with a hint of disdain. He thought of the eye Obito had given him, of the secrets of the Mangekyo Obito had revealed, and of how Obito loved a show of mystery. If Obito had retrieved his lost eye sooner, if he'd at least tried, Nagato bitterly suspected things might have gone differently. Obito's space-time ninjutsu, if fully powered, would make even Nagato wary. "You're rather disheveled, Obito," Madara scolded mildly. "After so many years, you didn't bother to train in what I taught you." Obito, who had already activated Izanagi with both his 3 Tomoe Sharingan, said nothing. He took the flame fan from his back and tossed it to Madara. "Here, your toy back. The man in the Kamui dimension is dangerous. His light sphere can instantly drain chakra. I almost couldn't even activate Izanagi." "Otsutsuki Toneri?" Madara's fighting spirit ignited. "Is that his main body or a clone?" Black Zetsu quickly reminded him. "Lord Madara, revival is the priority." "You're right." Madara nodded and formed hand seals, splitting off a wood clone that had infinite chakra but no immortal body. Obito used Kamui to send Madara's wood clone into the Kamui dimension. Then he transported Madara, along with black and white Zetsu, into the Kamui dimension himself. Simultaneously, Obito's wood clone, previously hidden on Nagato and Izanami's front, used Kamui to retrieve the main body and the others. In just seconds, Madara and his group moved from the rain to a forest in the land of fire. Only about 3 minutes had elapsed from Madara's revival to his arrival on this battlefield. During that time, Izanami had used Danzo Shimura's Kamui assist to drive Nagato and Tobi down from the top of the 100-armed Buddha statue, conserving a great deal of chakra and seizing control of the statue to pummel them with its 100 giant arms. Shinra Tensei. Nagato unleashed a tremendous repulsive force that splintered the statue's assault. He quickly formed hand seals and used the summoning technique to free the Outer Path demonic statue, the one sealed earlier by Tree World Advent and the Myojin Gate. The three colossal showdown returned to a 2-on-2, Nagato and Tobi versus Izanami and Danzo. But the controllers had changed. Izanami was openly present while Danzo hid in shadow. To avoid Kamui ambushes, Nagato and Tobi kept tense and refused to connect yin-yang release chakra to the Outer Path statue for a massive chakra-draining attack. Instead, they used the statue as a wooden golem Arhat. Izanami, receiving real-time data from his wood clone, was both angry and baffled. Madara's revival had been expected. After all, his corpse had been in Black Zetsu's possession. With Nagato's confidence, Izanami thought it likeliest that Madara would team with Nagato. He had not anticipated Madara taking the initiative so decisively. What had they discussed in the dark underground base? Why had things changed? A figure appeared atop the Outer Path demonic statue. Tobi smiled. "Lord Madara, welcome back." "It's been a while, Tobi." Madara returned the smile, but before he could say more, Tobi blurted out, "Lord Madara, is there poop in the Pure Land? Do you still feel the urge to poop after you die?" Madara's forehead creased, a corner of his mouth twitching involuntarily. Nagato's eyes widened at Tobi's odd humor. "While I still have chakra, I'll revive you first," Nagato offered. "No rush. Finish these problems first," Madara said, eyes fixed on the black-haired youth on the 100-armed Buddha. "Hashirama's kin. Let me see how big the gap is between him and Hashirama." Would release Advent of a World of Flowering Trees. Madara poured chakra through the Outer Path demonic statue into the earth, seizing control of Tree World Advent. The python-like branches wrapped the statue from base to crown, binding it. Red flowers bloomed on some trees, but then, unexpectedly, the branches halted and retreated. The red flowers withered before opening. Madara allowed a small smile. This level of Sage Technique chakra does carry some of Hashirama Senju's flavor. "Revive me first," Nagato insisted. "If Otsutsuki Toneri appears, we'll be at a disadvantage. His reincarnation eye might evolve further. Besides, your Rinnegan can change back to a Mangekyo, right?" Madara's expression shifted from fighting spirit to solemnity as he remembered his limbo border jail. He nodded. "Revive me first." A white tube extended from the forehead of the Outer Path demonic statue and connected to Madara's back. As the endless chakra of Edo Tensei flowed into him, the statue let out a deafening roar. Sound and airwaves lashed the trees like a hurricane. Massive chains, like the adamantine sealing chains, shot from the statue's mouth, flashing with purple chakra and lashing out to bind the 100-armed Buddha while siphoning its chakra away. A chain lunged at Izanami. Izanami vanished instantly. At the same time, space around Madara twisted. "Is that the power of Obito's other eye?" Madara mused. He disconnected from the statue, chuckling. "A fine eye, shame there's only one. Dojutsu is too weak with a single eye." Both Sharingan and Rinnegan are strongest when a pair is present. One eye's power is not simply half, it is significantly diminished. Yet Madara's smile faded when he saw the twisted space shift downward toward the statue's head rather than pursue him and Nagato. He prepared to use Susanoo when a figure suddenly appeared atop the Outer Path demonic statue, Uchiha Obito, his left eye blind. "Well done, Obito," Madara praised without hesitation. Nagato, ready to summon, lowered his hands after landing and hurried to stand before Madara. "Cover me," he ordered. "Obito." Madara called. Obito flickered close. Tobi detached from Nagato and attached himself to Obito. Madara and Tobi simultaneously formed hand seals and channeled chakra into the ground, denying Izanami any opening for a surprise wood release strike. Obito glanced briefly at Madara and then at the black and white Zetsu emerging nearby, then fixed his gaze on Nagato to keep Danzo from disrupting the ritual with Kamui. Outer Path, Reincarnation, Tensei no Jutsu. As Nagato's shout rolled out, white steam rose from Madara's body. The cracks that covered him healed at a visible rate. The Sharingan with dark sclera showed fissures like shattered glass, shards falling away. Twisted space snarled close by. Obito used Kamui to pull the distortion toward him, creating a fist-sized black hole. A pale hand reached from that hole, and several green beams shot toward Obito and the others. Obito's face changed. He quickly suspended his dojutsu output and vanished in a body flicker. Madara, now fully revived, sensed the threat as well. He sidestepped, launched Susanoo as a skeletal defense, and raised a blue light sword to cut down the incoming beams, but the sword could not touch the green light directly. The beams, guided by a rule-like force, converted Madara's attack into yin-release chakra and absorbed it. The green spheres exploded like cannon fire in a mushroom cloud. Nagato, who had already been drained of a large portion of his chakra, could not react in time. He could not use Preta Path. The beams pierced him. He fell, combat ability nullified. From his body shot 9 beams, 2 gold, 3 blue, 4 purple, visible only to Izanami. The explosion swallowed them. Branches burst through the earth to form a tree wall and blunt the blast's shockwave. Black Zetsu, using wood release, attached himself to Nagato, raising a hand to pry out his eyes as he rushed him toward Madara. The forest's control slipped from Madara and Tobi as their chakra had been heavily expended and dominance returned to Izanami. The ground quaked. Massive branches burst from the soil and flung Nato, carried by Black Zetsu, into the air. Wooden spikes shot out around him, but then the writhing branches froze and only the spikes struck. Black Zetsu, landing on a branch, formed a wood-release cocoon shield and wrapped Nagato inside to block the onslaught. A black shadow, melding with earth and vegetation, slipped away at high speed. Fine coordination, Madara's voice echoed through the trees. If it weren't for Hashirama's wood release, those 2 brats would almost have succeeded. 2 streaks of blood ran down Madara's face. A pair of purple-patterned eyes had returned to his gaze, an overwhelming dojutsu presence that cowed the forest itself, stopping the animated branches from moving. The Shura of the ninja world, Madara, who had unified the 2 extremes and obtained the power of all creation, stood fully resurrected. Bubbles of colored light swirled around him. The most striking bubble shimmered with rainbow hues. Its entry was unlike any other. The font inside flowed with a rainbow glow, as if special effects had been applied. The entry read, Bloodline Limit, Rinnegan, an unknown rank, one that surpassed the red entry, had finally appeared. What a pity. I was hoping to kill 3 birds with 1 stone. Izanami had already leapt out of the battlefield and used the Flying Thunder God to return Hinata and Karin to Konoha. Now he stood in an empty expanse, watching the scene where Uchiha Madara and the others gathered through his reincarnation eye. He sighed inwardly. Madara had just been resurrected, and without his eyes, he was at his weakest. If the wood clones had been able to kill him instantly, Izanami might have gained his traits. In the end, of the 3 targets, only Nagato, who had been summoned by Reincarnation Tensei and was already weakened, had been ambushed successfully. Although I didn't get everything at once, the goal for this final battle has been achieved. Izanami smiled and opened his status panel. His points balance had soared to 1,105. After decomposing the 9 traits dropped from Nagato, 2 gold, 3 blue, 4 purple, his total finally breached 6 digits and topped 1,000,000. In his trait list, the red traits led by Otsutsuki Bloodline now showed a plus sign indicating they could be upgraded. Without even glancing at Sage's eye or Sage body, Izanami clicked the plus beside Otsutsuki Bloodline red. The Otsutsuki Bloodline instantly changed. Its font grew slightly, and the red was replaced by a flowing rainbow light. Unlike lower-level traits, the colors did not flicker, but formed a continuous luminescence across the words Otsutsuki Bloodline. The level marker, red, shifted to color with its own effect. His points plummeted from 7 digits to 4, remained. He closed the panel and checked his body for changes. Nothing. Izanami wasn't surprised. The same thing had happened when he first copied Otsutsuki Toneri's bloodline. Upgrades to that level didn't take effect instantly. Over time, his body would begin to defy fate, break old limits, and his potential would expand. The changes would appear gradually. So he swallowed his anticipation and turned his attention back to Uchiha Madara, who had already installed his eyes. A dozen multicolored bubbles drifted around Madara. The most conspicuous one matched Izanami's new Otsutsuki bloodline. Bloodline limit, 6 paths aptitude, all attribute physique. Bloodline limit, wood release, gold. Chakutsuki bloodline. Ninjutsu master, purple. Summoning master, purple. Sealing master, purple. Medical master, purple. Puppet master. It's gone. Izanami didn't linger on the Rinnegan trait. He scanned the rest and failed to find another red trait. Before Madara's resurrection, the Sage's Eye, red, had been listed among his talents. Now it was gone. Instead, 6 paths aptitude, red, appeared, something not present in his Edo Tensei state at all. When 2 poles merge into one, the power of all creation can be obtained. Izanami murmured, and the reason the Sage's Eye had vanished clicked into place. He opened his panel again and stared at his Prince of the Byakugan, read, pondering aloud. If the Reincarnation Eye completes its final evolution, will that trait disappear too? Now that my Otsutsuki bloodline has reached a new level, equivalent to the Otsutsuki clan, will it produce a Rinnegan? If the Rinnegan is born, will Sage's Eye red and Sage Body red vanish as well? He closed the panel and looked again at Madara's Rinnegan. Ultimate ocular powers were clearly above red. Otsutsuki Toneri's bloodline was high level among the red traits, high enough that the alien Otsutsuki considered him kin and sealed him instead of killing him. Still, Toneri was mixed blood, not pure. True pure-blood Otsutsuki had 3 defining traits: white hair, horns, and the Byakugan. Only those born with all 3 were true pure-bloods. Toneri had white hair but no horns and lacked an innate Byakugan. To awaken the Reincarnation Eye, he had to seize another's Byakugan of extremely high purity. His atavism couldn't match Otsutsuki Hamura, who awakened the Reincarnation Eye on his own. Compared to pure-blood Otsutsuki, who could traverse the universe, possibly be born with the Rinnegan and bloodline limits, and wield divine arts, Toneri's rank fell short. His red trait sat above Sage's Eye, red, and Sage Body, red, but below a fully evolved bloodline limit, Reincarnation Eye, red. The Reincarnation Eye had only finished its 2nd quickening. Its ultimate power had not yet awakened. Now that Madara's Sage's Eye had disappeared, the conclusion was clear. When the Reincarnation Eye completes its final evolution, it becomes a color-level trait. At that point, Izanami's life level and potential would leap past the Kage level into a new dimension, the 6 Paths level. Unlike 6 Paths Obito, who became 10 Tails Jinchuriki, or Naruto and Sasuke, who received power externally, or Toneri, whose eyes were transplanted, Izanami's and Madara's eyes were their own. Their ceilings could still rise. With sufficient lifespan, talent, and capacity, they could reach the level of Hamura and Hagoromo before he became 10 Tails Jinchuriki. If there were no levels above color, then the lower bound of color traits would be ultimate ocular powers like the Reincarnation Eye and the Rinnegan. The upper bound would be the maximum achievable by pure-blood Otsutsuki. The color level represented a true alternate dimension. Red traits were on a totally different plane by comparison. Within this color tier, there would still be gradations. Some colors would signify having gone farther into that dimension. Hagoromo and Hamura, for various reasons, had remained bound to this planet. Pureblood Otsutsuki, by using the divine tree to harvest planetary life, grew stronger, acquired trump cards, lengthened their lives, and pushed further down this dimensional path. If the Reincarnation Eye and Rinnegan are the threshold into that dimension, sitting at the bottom, then what rank does my Otsutsuki bloodline color hold within it? Izanami plucked a black strand of hair and watched it between his fingers. Perhaps in a while, I'll know. Back with Madara, Black Zetsu bowed. Lord Madara, welcome back. Madara, resurrected in his prime, regarded him coolly. The plan? Black Zetsu chuckled in a hoarse voice. It went off smoothly. Smooth, barely. Madara let out a dry sigh. My plan was to be resurrected by Reincarnation Tensei, with Nagato having gathered the 9-tailed beasts. I would become the Ten-Tails Jinchuriki and cast infinite Tsukuyomi to sever the world's karma. There was nothing we could do. Obito messed up, the Three Tails died, and it will take time to revive it, Black Zetsu said, subtly shifting blame. Besides, none of us expected secrets like the Reincarnation Eye and the Otsutsuki clan to exist since the Six-Path Sage. Lord Madara, if you want to be the savior, destiny still requires trials. Humph, two cowardly rats, Madara snorted. I intended to experiment on them, but they only dared to sneak attack me at my weakest. Now they're gone, far inferior to Hashirama. Perhaps they felt Lord Madara's presence, Black Zetsu flattered outwardly while inwardly grumbling. He had spent 1,000 years crafting a second pair of Rinnegan. No one shared his obsession. With only the Three Tails left to secure, he did not want Madara to risk everything. How is Nagato? Madara asked. Nagato used Reincarnation Tensei with sufficient chakra, Black Zetsu replied. If Otsutsuki Toneri hadn't ambushed him, he might have still fought. Though drained, he's the Rinnegan vessel Lord Madara chose. He's awakened bloodlines of the Whirlpool and Senju, and he has Hashirama cells. His vitality is immense. If Tobi attaches himself and uses the Outer Path demonic statue to inject Hashirama cells or White Zetsu cells, Nagato can recover. He may never return to full strength, of course, but he's salvageable. Good, Madara smiled thinly, then looked up at the blue sky. Black Zetsu, could I fly to the moon with my complete body, Susanoo? Black Zetsu hesitated, then forced a laugh. If you were Edo Tensei, Lord Madara, your chakra would be enough. Now, better be cautious. If he weren't trying to maintain his composure, Black Zetsu wanted to beg Madara not to tempt death. He had waited 1,000 years for this chance. Now that the Three Tails was the last piece, he could save his mother. He did not want accidents. There must be spatial channels to the moon in this world, Black Zetsu continued. With Lord Madara's dojutsu power, far exceeding Nagato's, and the White Zetsu army within the Outer Path demonic statue, we can find an entrance. Madara inclined his head. Then I'll trouble you to find it, Black Zetsu. Leave it to me, Lord Madara. News of the end of the final battle spread through the ninja world in less than a day. At the start of the year, people had expected a drawn-out rivalry between the Akatsuki leader and Otsutsuki Toneri. Instead, the second clash turned out to be the final battle, and the combatants numbered 4. First, the Akatsuki leader engaged Konoha's wood release user. Both used wood-human techniques and fought for a day and night with no decisive victor. Toneri's human puppet legion launched a sneak attack on the Hidden Rain. The Akatsuki leader used the impure world reincarnation, summoning hundreds of powerful souls and famous warriors to clash with the puppet legion for a full day and night, taking heavy losses. Just when observers thought Toneri would overwhelm the exhausted pair, the wood release ninja and the Akatsuki leader somehow restored their chakra to peak levels. The Outer Path demonic statue also appeared, a monstrous being similar to wood humans and tailed beasts, but wielding power greater than a tailed beast ball. No one could predict how the fight would end, and most thought the winner would be one of those 3, the Akatsuki leader, the wood release ninja, or Toneri. Then the impossible happened. The victor was a man who had died decades ago, Uchiha Madara. When that name reached the masses, terror rippled through both shinobi and civilians. Unlike the revered ninja god, the title Ninja World's Shura belonged to a killer, one who had ended the warring states with ruthless violence, who could stand against the ninja god and had been the main antagonist at the Battle of the End Valley. Old men like Onoki recalled being humiliated by him in their youth. Why did it come to this? Onoki muttered, staring at the intelligence report. Not Edo Tensei, but true resurrection. Rinnegan, does it even have the power to resurrect? And why does the Akatsuki leader's eye appear in him? The 4th Raikage, Chiyo, and Genshi were equally baffled. Chiyo had once toyed with the idea of a resurrection technique during her seclusion. Her notes even hinted at life creation jutsu, but nothing like this existed. Resurrection ninjutsu had never been seen, and a resurrected Uchiha Madara, allied with the supposed ninja god of the New Age, was a nightmare. The Akatsuki leader had targeted Konoha's wood release ninja, making it plain these two were not aligned with the 5 great shinobi countries. Faced with enemies of such status, the 5 Kage felt chills and ordered immediate visits to the other great ninja villages. A 5 Kage summit was to be convened at once. Where is Izayoi? In Konoha, Tsunade asked Hinata and Karen, "Didn't he come back with you?" "He said he was going on a mission," Hinata answered, eyes unusual with worry. "What mission now?" Tsunade snapped. "With his strength, I could step aside for him. Having fought the Akatsuki leader a day and a night, who would oppose making him a jonin? Can someone contact him? Tell him to come back immediately. Right now, we need to defend the village." "No," Hinata and Karen said together. Tsunade sat heavily and stared at the compiled intelligence. "Uchiha Madara. How did the new era's battles get dragged into a war with this relic of the old era? The reanimation technique my second grandpa developed mustn't be flawless. With the Akatsuki leader's strength, controlling him should be easy. Why resurrect Madara and give him those eyes? Why did that pervy Jiraiya's disciple go after Izayoi instead of Toneri? What conspiracy are they in?" She slammed the desk in frustration, cracking the wood. Then a familiar voice floated through the window. "I'll go gather some intel. Get lost." Tsunade turned to the speaker, Jiraiya standing with a swagger, and snapped, "If you want to die, I can send you to the Pure Land with one punch. They've got 2 super-level powerhouses. Those Edo Tensei summons are no joke. For gathering intel, you should send Izayoi's wood clone or use the Flying Thunder God. Don't you dare risk yourself on a suicide mission." Jiraiya's attempted cool composure fell into embarrassed silence. If it weren't for Izayoi, he might have had an excuse to take risks. But Konoha had Izayoi, a wood-release shinobi with advanced wood clone and wood transformation techniques, who also mastered spatial temporal ninjutsu like the Flying Thunder God. In this situation, sending Jiraiya out alone was foolhardy. Tsunade tried to calm herself. Izayoi isn't worried. He must know something. When he fought the Akatsuki leader, Otsutsuki Toneri even sent Danzo's puppets to assist him. That shows Toneri isn't indifferent to this outcome. If Madara and the Akatsuki leader are plotting something, Toneri won't stand by. If Izayoi and he combine forces, they could be a match for Madara and the Akatsuki leader. For now, we wait for Izayoi to return. Meanwhile, I'll send invitations to the other villages. Convene the 5 Kage summit. P.S. For detailed level settings, please refer to the author's notes and related works. Chapter 154, White Hair Overnight, Bulging Head. The shockwaves from the final battle still rippled through the ninja world. Nations reeled, rumors spread, and amid the chaos, one of the key figures of that conflict was undergoing a quiet, private transformation. Izanami woke in his villa on Sakura Street the morning after unlocking the colored rank Otsutsuki bloodline. He had planned to wash up and then execute the clandestine mission for his jonin assessment. Standing in front of the mirror, though, he paused. Overnight, his hair, once black and covering his ears and forehead, had turned completely white. Before going to bed, there had not been a single silver strand. Now his hair was as white as snow. He only smiled a little. "As expected," he murmured to himself. "The colored Otsutsuki bloodline is rewriting my genes, moving me from mixed to pure blood." He had copied Toneri's colored Otsutsuki bloodline, red when he was 3. That had brought massive changes. He had even awakened a bloodline limit, the Byakugan. But at that time, he'd wondered why his hair had stayed black. The Otsutsuki were famous for white hair. Now he understood. Toneri's own genes had been incomplete. In Toneri's case, the regression to ancestral traits had been enough to give him the eyes and white hair, but not full horns. When Izanami had inherited Toneri's red entry, the mutation had prioritized his eyes, not hair. Now the colored bloodline was continuing the process, completing his genome. White hair and Byakugan were 2 of the 3 hallmark traits of a pure-blood Otsutsuki. The third remained questionable. He ran his fingers through his hair and felt 2 tiny bumps near his forehead. Lifting his bangs, he leaned in closer to the mirror. Just above the hairline, 2 symmetrical nodules rose from his skull like mosquito bites. They weren't sore or itchy, but Izanami's sight, the future-telling edge of his eyes, told him what would come. Those bumps would split open one day and sprouts of horn would push through, in due time completing the triad of Otsutsuki features. When the horns finish, I'll have the full set: white hair, Byakugan, horns. Pure blood Otsutsuki, he said, pressing his fingertips against the bumps. He wondered aloud which powers would follow: an ultimate dojutsu, divine techniques, bloodline net, karma? The pure-blood Otsutsuki could wield godlike abilities, dimensional traversal, divine ocular techniques, and powers that could reshape the ninja world. Whether his path would resemble Hagoromo and Hamura and awaken an ultimate dojutsu, or take Kaguya's route toward Karma and Bloodline Net, or enter some other path dependent on the extraterrestrial Otsutsuki lineage, remained to be seen. The degree of purity in his genes would determine what he could eventually unlock. For now, the horns had yet to emerge, and his body wouldn't undergo its true growth spurt until next year. He suppressed his impatience, washed, and used a wood-release transformation to tint his hair back to black before heading out for breakfast. Then he teleported to begin his mission. He planned to spend 5 days on this Jonin assessment, both to complete the task and to watch for any further bodily changes. Outside, the ninja world was still abuzz about the final battle. Smaller nations watched from the sidelines. The 5 Kage convened another summit in the Land of Iron to discuss how to handle Uchiha Madara, Nagato, and the Hidden Rain Village, now rebuilt with wood release. Tsunade's personal guards were no longer Izanami and Kakashi. Hinata and Karin now stood at her side, both carrying a permanent Flying Thunder God technique formula Izanami had left behind. If anything happened at the summit, all 3 women trusted the same thing. Izanami would arrive as fast as possible. News traveled fast. Black and White Zetsu soon delivered a report to Madara. The 5 Kage are meeting again in the Land of Iron. They may be planning how to deal with you, Black Zetsu said. Madara's interest flickered. Is that brat Izanami there? He's not, White Zetsu said in a clipped tone. According to my reconnaissance, he's on a confidential Jonin assessment mission. Madara was surprised. At a time like this, he's doing a mission to get promoted? Black Zetsu's expression grew serious. Madara-sama, do you think he might be allied with Otsutsuki Toneri? Madara only laughed softly. Even if he teamed up with Toneri, what does it change? Toneri is the only real wild card here. Black Zetsu was not reassured. He knew the Otsutsuki clan's capabilities from inside knowledge. Madara himself had attained heights few could match, but Toneri's reincarnation eye, his ocular evolution, presented a different threat. Toneri's bloodline had regressed to a very pure state. He'd already mastered gravity, repulsion, a unique 6 paths technique, and yin-yang release. He was perhaps one step away from deriving the power of all creation. If Toneri completed that final evolution, the gap between him and Madara could shrink to a matter of which ultimate ocular techniques each possessed. We can't wait, Black Zetsu urged. We must find the spatial passage to the moon right away. If Toneri completes his evolution, we lose any advantage. Madara weighed the words and then nodded. Very well. Split off wood clones. Send Black Zetsu and the White Zetsu army to search for the moon channel. If you can't find it, we'll take a more decisive approach. We can absorb enough tailed beast chakra to form a complete body Susanoo and travel to the moon directly. Let me try first, Black Zetsu insisted, determination cutting through the usual servility. Madara shrugged. Do it. If the reincarnation eye truly rivals the Rinnegan, only ocular power like mine might perceive that seal on the moon's channel. But if it's not yet complete, it may fail to see Limbo. If so, those 2 brats aren't worth worrying about. Black Zetsu also warned that Toneri could read lips. Madara only smirked. Let him learn our plan. If his eye truly parallels the Rinnegan, its evolution will be similar to mine. 3 Tomoe Sharingan to Mangekyo to Eternal Mangekyo, then the final unification. At his age, he's no older than Mangekyo or Eternal Mangekyo. The last step is cross-dimensional. Madara dismissed the rest and turned away from diplomacy. He had no interest in playing house with the 5 Kage. If the only way to stop him was to kill a few Jinchuriki, he would. If Toneri wanted the Rinnegan for his own reasons, whether out of contempt for the 6 paths or to become the 10 Tails Jinchuriki himself, that was Toneri's problem. For now, Madara decided to keep the secret of the 10 Tails and let the world guess. After giving orders, Madara visited Nagato and Konan. Nagato sat in his wheelchair, his Rinnegan covered by white bandages. Konan stood behind him. Madara suggested an eye transplant. After all, with Nagato's mixed bloodline and Hashirama cells, he could handle Uchiha eyes, or even a simple ordinary pair aided by yin-yang release in the Outer Path statue. Nagato shook his head, smiling with a calm resignation. No. I want to see the world anew with my mind's eye. I once thought I was the chosen one, Jiraiya's child of prophecy, but I had no personal ambitions. I only wanted Yahiko's dream. That dream is over. I am no savior, no god of a new world. I'll return home as a spectator. He removed a ring from his hand, one of the 0 rings, and tossed it to Madara. Take the Hidden Rain village and the Akatsuki, he said. Then Nagato and Konan prepared to leave, bound for the places of their childhood and memories with Jiraiya. Madara watched them go with a mixture of regret and admiration. He had wanted Nagato by his side while he severed the world's karma, had hoped to prove his plan true. But he did not force Nagato's hand. The man's conviction and his similarity to Hashirama's resolve earned Madara's respect. Back at a wooden meeting house, Madara used the ring to summon the Akatsuki's thought bodies. Except for black and white Zetsu and the Tendo Pain manifestation, the group appeared in spectral form. Madara watched them quietly. His gaze lingered on Kakuzu, Kisame, and Itachi in particular. Sasori, impatient, broke the silence. Where are the leader and White Tiger? Why is his Rinnegan on you? Did you kill them? Madara answered with a calm smile. Nagato and Konan have left the Akatsuki. They are no longer ninjas. And the Rinnegan, those eyes were mine to begin with. I've reclaimed them. Shock spread through the gathered phantoms. What do you mean? Sasori demanded. Isn't the Sharingan the Uchiha's ultimate? How can the Rinnegan be yours? Madara's expression grew colder. I can tell you the truth, but only if you make a choice. Bring your physical bodies to me, and accept a seal that prevents you from betraying our secrets. Stay in the Akatsuki, and I'll teach you why we collect tailed beasts, why the Outer Path statue matters. I'll make your ambitions real. The offer hung in the air. Kakuzu, always pragmatic, asked if Madara would hunt them down if they refused. Madara clicked his tongue. You've endured Earth Grudge fear. No wonder you've lasted this long. But I'm not interested in hunting you. I control impure world reincarnation. The corpses of the reincarnated are mine. I'm keeping you to honor what Nagato built, not to chase fleas. If you don't want to stay, destroy the ring. That's how you resign. He waved them off. I'm done wasting time with phantoms. You have 3 days. Bring your bodies if you wish to stay. Otherwise, you're free to leave. Meeting dismissed. Madara severed the chakra link. The thought bodies faded. The summit of spectral rogues dissipating like mist, leaving the wooden room and the weight of decisions yet to be made. Chapter 155, Uchiha Madara and Uchiha Itachi, the ancestor tyrannizes his unworthy descendants. 3 days later, the Akatsuki arrived as a group, clearly having met beforehand. The man they were about to see was infamous across the ninja world, the Asura of the Shinobi, Uchiha Madara. Even though Madara had promised not to hunt them down, no one wanted to take chances. Only they knew Akatsuki's true plan for the tailed beasts, to capture them all and turn them into the ultimate weapon. Madara's words could have been a test. They were also deeply curious why Nagato's Rinnegan was tied to Madara's eyes. Besides the ability to seal the 9-tailed beasts and create an ultimate weapon, what other secrets did the Outer Path statue hold? Rational minds like Itachi and Sasori suspected this secret might be the key to the world's truth, that the superhuman strength of Hashirama and Madara was linked to it. Seeing the entire Akatsuki assembled, Madara didn't bother asking if they'd decided. He used yin-yang release to plant seals on their hearts and minds. If they betrayed any information, the cursed marks would trigger. Even death would leave their brains unreadable to Konoha's Yamanaka clan. He also injected them with a spore-like technique so that white Zetsu clones could watch them continuously. If any of them dared leak anything, Madara could snuff them out instantly. Now that you're sealed, tell me the truth, Sasori said after pulling his coat straight, staring at Madara. The others focused on him as well. Very well, Madara replied. I'll tell you the origin of chakra. He did not break his word. Madara used the Rinnegan to pull them all into a shared illusion. In the Genjutsu world, the Akatsuki found themselves in a twilight mountain valley. In the distance, 2 shadowy figures fought. One immense, larger than a mountain, the other humanoid, and the same size as the gathered ninjas. Both were black silhouettes, with only a few defining features. The giant had the 10 tails shape, shaking the ground with each movement, one single eye a scarlet Sharingan ringed with Rinnegan Tomoe. The smaller figure wielded a staff and a sword, its eyes the purple rings of the Rinnegan, Madara's Rinnegan. Before Sasori and Itachi could speculate, Madara's voice filled their ears. 1,000 years ago, a monster appeared in the ninja world, the Ten Tails, he said. This beast is immortal and indestructible. As long as life remains on this planet, it can recover from any damage. To restrain it and protect the world, the Sage of Six Paths developed a sealing technique that lives on today, the Jinchuriki sealing system. The Sage sealed the Ten Tails within himself, becoming the first Jinchuriki. As Madara spoke, the humanoid shadow absorbed the mountain-sized monster into itself. Everyone in the Akatsuki recognized the silhouette as the Six Paths Sage. After he became the Ten Tails Jinchuriki, Madara went on, he founded Ninshu, spread chakra across the world, and so ninjas were born. He was worshipped as a god, the true Shinobi god, but even he could not escape death. To prevent the Ten Tails from running rampant if he died, he split the Ten Tails chakra within his body into 9 parts and created 9 chakra-formed beasts, the tailed beasts. The scene shifted. In a dark void, the sage stood at the center of a massive technique. The chakra within him surged, splitting into 9 creatures with different numbers of tails. The 10 tails then reappeared, but without its chakra, it fell dormant, regressing to a giant humanoid form, the Outer Path demonic statue. The 10 tails, having lost its chakra, became the Outer Path demonic statue and was sent by the sage to the moon. Madara continued. Logically, the world should have entered an era free from the 10 tails calamity. Yet in his later years, the sage saw the suffering and wars chakra had brought. Perhaps regretting what he'd done, he engraved upon a stone tablet how to obtain the Rinnegan, how to revive the 10 tails and become its Jinchuriki, and a technique to make a true peace. This stone tablet requires extremely powerful ocular ability to fully decipher. Each stage yields limited information. Only eyes closest to the Rinnegan can read as far as the method for obtaining the power of creation itself. The illusion shifted again. They stood before a shrine with a stone tablet. Itachi's expression changed sharply. He recognized the Uchiha crest carved into the shrine. Madara's narration continued. One day, someone with eternal ocular power stood before that tablet. He learned how to obtain the power of creation and the way to make true peace. And so the Battle of the Valley of the End happened. That man faked his death and escaped with what he sought. Decades later, as age was about to kill him, he transcended dimensional limits and acquired the power of creation. The scene showed an old man who had slept more than been awake. He opened his eyes, purple Rinnegan. The assembled Akatsuki knew at once it was Madara. Sasori and the others finally understood why the founder's legendary clash had stunned the world. The genjutsu evaporated, and they returned to reality. Madara rested his face on the back of his hand and said casually, "I was dying of old age back then and couldn't create true peace. So I arranged a plan to revive myself in my prime, transplant the Rinnegan onto young Nagato. Now that the plan has borne fruit, the Rinnegan has returned to me. You want us to collect all the tailed beasts, revive the Outer Path statue as the 10 tails, become the 10 tails Jinchuriki, and become the next sage?" Sasori asked bluntly. "Correct," Madara replied. "What is true peace?" Itachi asked. "It's also a ninjutsu," Madara said, pointing at the sky with a smile. "Once I become the 10 tails Jinchuriki, my ocular power will be unmatched. I will cast my eyes upon the moon and use a technique that covers the entire ninja world, Infinite Tsukuyomi. This jutsu will trap every human in an overwhelmingly real genjutsu. Each person will be the protagonist of a dream world where any wish can be fulfilled. No conflict, no sickness, no aging. Their minds will live forever in that bliss. Their bodies will be sustained by the 10 tails until they die." Silence fell. The Akatsuki exchanged looks. Reactions varied. Deidara, face-scratching, sounded almost tempted. "A world where everyone recognizes my art? Not so bad." "You fool, it's fake," Sasori scolded, but his voice betrayed a similar longing. He had often dreamed of his parents alive again, and the idea of an endless dream where that was true tempted him strongly. Kisame grinned in a way that rarely showed. "A world where everyone believes in Lord Jashin? I'm looking forward to it," Hidan said, excited. Kakuzu felt something stir. He had long resented this cruel reality. Only Itachi remained cold. "This isn't peace, it's an escape." This is escape, Madara agreed, but countless people want to escape. I will be their savior. Have you thought about other people's feelings? Itachi challenged. Madara's sneer was genuine. You say people will be robbed of their happiness, yet in the dream, they'll know greater happiness. No more aging, no more disease, no more betrayal or endless conflict. How do you know they wouldn't choose that? What is false remains false, Itachi replied as firmly as he once had to Nagato. Madara's interest piqued. He waved a hand. You all leave. I want a private talk with this young man. Those who'd wanted to watch the confrontation reluctantly drifted away. Deidara, especially, still hoped to see the Uchiha ancestor lay into the descendant who'd destroyed their clan. When everyone else had gone, Madara stayed with his face propped on his hand, watching Itachi's impassive face. He tilted his head and asked flatly, "Why did you destroy the Uchiha clan?" "To test my capacity," Itachi answered exactly as he had told Sasuke. Madara's smile turned mischievous. "So you abandoned your little brother to obtain the eternal Mangekyo, right?" "Correct," Itachi said calmly. "I left him to force his Mangekyo awake, then took his eyes to become the second you." Madara showed no anger and didn't reveal how he'd obtained his own eternal Mangekyo. Instead, he teased, "Eternal eyes alone aren't enough. To be me, you need the Rinnegan too. I can teach you how to gain eternal ocular power without transplanting a relative's eyes and how to awaken the Rinnegan. Since you were willing to wipe out your clan to provoke the Mangekyo, you would be willing to kill your brother for the Rinnegan, yes? I'll give you those two methods now. Then go to Konoha and kill your younger brother. Deal?" Itachi's eyes flickered into the shape of the Mangekyo. A single tear of blood ran from his right eye as he shouted, "Amaterasu!" Jet black flames erupted, engulfing Madara. Madara, however, remained leisurely, face in his hand, watching Itachi's performance. From his body emerged a black crow, its left eye patterned like a four-pointed shuriken. "Izanagi!" the crow cried, and the forbidden jutsu, which normally required long cooldowns, was cast at Madara. Simultaneously, Itachi poured ocular power into creating a skeletal red arm gripping a gourd, directing a beam of crimson flame sword toward Madara. The beam froze midair just before touching him. Amaterasu, inextinguishable black flames. Izanagi, a genjutsu that can rewrite the will. The legendary Totsuka blade, Madara said, as he calmly absorbed the black flames. This brat is fortunate to possess such eyes and tools. His expression shifted into disdain. But these ocular powers are hopelessly weak against the ultimate ocular technique. As a parting gift, I'll show you the power of the final eye. A single heavy impact sounded. Itachi, encased in his Susanoo, snapped back as if hit in the jaw and was launched through the air. A barrage of blows sent him hurtling back and forth like a ball in front of Madara. After more than 10 seconds, his Susanoo collapsed, and Itachi lay battered on the ground. Madara strode forward and raised his foot toward his head, expression curled with contempt. "You didn't consider your clan's feelings either," he said coldly. "You made the clan a sacrifice between itself and Konoha, so don't lecture me." As the greatest presence the Uchiha had produced, Madara understood the clan's pride and love better than anyone. Having once driven Obito down his path, he couldn't be fooled by showy ocular powers and yin chakra. From Itachi's earlier refutation of the infinite Tsukuyomi, Madara suspected a deeper truth. This was a spy planted by Konoha. Someone who could choose the village over the clan without hesitation shared the same extremism and arrogance as Obito. Madara despised Itachi for what he'd done to his brother. Younger brothers were to be cherished, not sacrificed. "Let's see what you really think," Madara said, then used a sealing jutsu to strip Itachi of control. He crouched and laid his hand on Itachi's forehead. Human path, mind reading. Itachi's soul was wrenched out and Madara sifted through his memories. He flipped through them quickly, incredulous at what he saw. 3 people in that generation awakened the Mangekyo, and Tobirama's disciples could use them like that? Madara muttered, then sighed. Like father, like son. Noble generation, yet the 3 who awakened the Mangekyo were useless. When he released the soul and restored Itachi to his body, Madara's voice was icy. "You're an unworthy brother, but because you share my blood, I'll spare your life and leave your eyes for your younger brother." Madara had read Itachi's plan, and a thought had formed. Sasuke resembled Izuna in looks and temperament, and he still did not know the truth of the clan's fall. If Sasuke learned the truth, maybe he could be turned. With nothing left, wouldn't he long for the infinite Tsukuyomi? Madara decided to keep this descendant on a shorter leash. Remembering his own younger brother only made his contempt for Itachi deepen. To Madara, brothers were to be protected, not manipulated. Itachi had even tried to use Izanagi on his own brother to rewrite his will into lifelong service to Konoha. You can do that, and you still dare call the infinite Tsukuyomi false? Madara spat, disgusted by the double standard. He kicked Itachi aside. You make me sick. Get out. Chapter 156. Izanami, why is your head so pointy? Huh? Why are they fighting? The wood clone relayed the situation between Uchiha Madara and Itachi back to the main body in real time. Izanami's brow lifted. Could Itachi's identity as a spy have been exposed? Seeing Madara extract Itachi's soul, Izanami was about to order the wood clone to use the heavenly transfer technique to parachute the puppet in and seize Itachi's body. After all, Itachi's eyes were the key for Sasuke to obtain the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. But then, Madara returned the soul instead of killing Itachi, and Izanami abandoned the idea and began analyzing the situation. If Madara didn't kill him, it could be because of his promise with Izuna. Because Madara values talent and thinks a living Itachi is more useful than an Edo Tensei Itachi. Or, more likely, because Madara had his eyes set on Sasuke, who resembles Izuna, and wanted Itachi to be the whetstone to forge a second pair of Mangekyo Sharingan. Izanami leaned toward the latter explanation. Madara's goal was to sever the world's karma and cast the infinite Tsukuyomi so everyone would enter a dream. He would use any means to achieve that, even dragging the kind-hearted Obito into darkness. If Sasuke, so much like his brother, stood in his way, Madara would eliminate him without hesitation. To Madara, sacrificing a few for the happiness of the many made sense. In the original timeline, even Naruto's talk no jutsu couldn't sway Madara. His will was rock solid. Yet that Madara was the one from the end of Shippuden, and even then he had taken the time to try and persuade Sasuke before resorting to killing. Here, the Three Tails hadn't even been revived, and Madara had been revived early. Sasuke didn't yet have the strength to stop him. Even Izanami found Madara's motives hard to divine. In any case, as long as Itachi wasn't dead, Izanami didn't press the matter further. Haven't you got your Jonin vest ready? I brought it back for you, Hinata called. She returned carrying a green vest. Izanami reached out and pulled her into his arms, first nipping her cheek playfully, then resting his forehead against hers. He complained in a mock grumpy voice. Hinata, aren't you my teammate? Why have you been going to the Hokage's office every day recently? You haven't become the Hokage's disciple, have you? Hinata smiled and wiped at his cheek, returning the smear of saliva he left there, then explained, I'm not the Hokage's disciple. I'm working as a secretary, learning to handle paperwork with Karin and Shizune-san. Why become a secretary all of a sudden? Did the Hokage trick you? Izanami asked, puzzled. Because I need to learn how things are done, she said. She looped her arms around his neck, bumped noses with him, and blushed slightly. That way, when you become the 6th Hokage, I can help. Izanami paused for a moment, then smiled. In that case, I have no choice but to become Hokage. Hinata giggled, kissed his cheek, then reached up to smooth his messy bangs. She suddenly froze, frowning. She touched his head again, perplexed, and asked, Izanami, why is your head pointy? Because horns are about to grow, he said without hiding anything. Horns? Hinata cocked her head, utterly confused. Izanami dispelled his wood clone. His black hair turned white with visible speed. Sensing the change, Hinata's eyes widened. Izanami, why did your hair turn white? Did you dye it? It's not dyed, it's a genetic mutation, he said. The mutation because of those eyes? She asked. Yes, Izanami nodded, saying no more. The Otsutsuki matter was too big to explain. It wasn't the right time to shatter Hinata's worldview. Knowing it was because of his reincarnation eye, Hinata relaxed and reached out to touch his hair and the 2 small bumps forming on his head. She exclaimed in wonder, The sage's eye is amazing. It can even turn hair white and grow horns. Are you scared, Hinata? He teased. Heh, it depends what kind of horns you grow, she teased back, covering her mouth as she laughed. If they're ram horns, Hanabi and I wouldn't dare nap next to you. Then I'll grow rhino horns and gore you to death, Izanami pretended to be offended, but bumped his head into Hinata's chest and nuzzled her kimono. She laughed and hugged him. They played in the villa's living room until evening. That night, the four of them, Izanami, Hinata, Hanabi, and Karin, had a simple celebration at the traditional restaurant to mark Izanami becoming a jonin. Glasses of juice clinked. Hanabi, excited, leaned in close. "Big brother, you're a jonin now. Do you remember what you promised me?" she demanded. "Promised what?" Izanami pretended not to know. "Big brother, you're breaking your promise," Hanabi cried. "You promised that once you became a jonin, you'd agree to my early graduation and be my personal jonin instructor." "Did I?" Izanami played dumb again. Hanabi didn't throw a tantrum. She bit her lip, eyes brimming, and looked at him with a wronged expression. Guilted instantly, Izanami put down his juice, pulled his sister-in-law into his arms, and said, "I remember now. There was such a promise." "Hinata, don't be mean," Hinata said seriously. "Izanami has important things to do. He won't have time to take you on missions." "Don't listen to Hinata's sister," Hanabi huffed. "Big brother doesn't have important things to do." She wiped at her tearful eyes and pouted. "Don't think I don't know about Team 8. Now that Big brother's a jonin, and you and Karen are secretaries for the Hokage, Shino applied for the Anbu test after becoming a chunin, and the Hokage said that the three of you going on missions together is a waste." Hinata had no reply. Karen covered her mouth, amused. Hanabi went on. "Besides, with Big Brother's reputation, it's only a matter of time before he becomes the 6th Hokage. Then he'll be swamped with work and will be even less likely to be my jonin instructor." Izanami ruffled Hanabi's hair and smiled. "With your information gathering and analysis skills, you're definitely ready for early graduation. I'll talk to your father tomorrow. If he agrees, I'll apply to the Hokage to be your personal jonin instructor." Being a jonin instructor for just one student wasn't unheard of. Orochimaru and Anko were examples. Hanabi threw herself at him in delight. "Really? That's great. I love you to death." "Hinata, you spoil her," she said helplessly, but didn't stop them. Karen finally asked, curious, "Hanabi, why do you want to graduate early?" "Because it's boring," Hanabi said, climbing onto Izanami's lap. "My power's too strong. I might accidentally hurt my classmates. They can't even learn one of the 3 body techniques yet, but I can already use shadow clones. Everything the academy teaches, I already know, and more. School feels like prison." Karen could only laugh awkwardly. A dark childhood made it hard for her to understand a genius like Hanabi. Hinata understood a little. If Izanami hadn't been there in the academy, she might have been bored too. With Izanami's guidance, Hinata had become a taijutsu demon, always near the top in class. The graduating class had been full of heirs to major ninja clans and exceptional talent. Hanabi's class, aside from Konohamaru, had few clan heirs, and none matched her ability. Her chakra was truly astonishing. In Gentle Fist, she could perform the 8 trigrams 64 palms early and might already be training in secret Gentle Fist techniques. It was a waste to keep her in the regular academy. Izanami rubbed her head. "All right, I'll persuade your father tomorrow." "Really? Thank you, big brother." Hanabi cheered into his arms. The next day, Izanami visited the Hyuga clan compound again after months away. Although Hinata's birthday last year had confirmed their relationship and granted him freer access to the Hyuga estate, he'd only been here once since then. The atmosphere made him uneasy. Dealing with his future father-in-law, who kept a poker face, always left him uncomfortable. If not for Hanabi's situation, he might have waited longer. "Izanami-sama!" came the greeting as he entered the compound as if home. Clan members from both the main and branch houses bowed respectfully as he passed. Many watched him with admiration. The women in particular didn't hide it. If he weren't Hinata's boyfriend and the future son-in-law of the main house, some of them might have rushed to flatter him. He'd even used a wood clone to disguise himself briefly on the way and slipped out with a body flicker. Otherwise, stepping out the door openly would have caused a commotion. The common folk were gathering just to catch a glimpse of him. After the final battles, he had been recognized as one of the 4 super-tier fighters in the ninja world and the strongest in the 5 great nations. In their eyes, he had become the hope against the villains labeled on the other side, and the nations now preferred him and Otsutsuki Toneri over Madara and the Akatsuki leader. The five Kaji summit and the alliance between the daimyo had changed the balance. While there wasn't a joint army yet, the five nations had made clear they would unite if the Akatsuki made a move. "Father, it's been a while," Izanami said as he reached the patriarch's residence. "It has." "Welcome to the Hyuga clan, Izanami," Hiyashi replied, waiting at the entrance with his two daughters. The ceremony made Izanami even more uncomfortable, but he bowed in return. Hiyashi's expression turned serious. "You've come at a good time. I have something to tell you and Hinata. Come inside." Izanami and Hinata exchanged a look, confusion and surprise, but on the surface, Izanami nodded. "Yes, father." They followed Hiyashi into the house. Passing through the living room, Hiyashi called sternly to Hanabi, who had been trying to sneak in behind them. "Hanabi, wait here. Do not follow us and do not activate your Byakugan, or I will punish you severely." "Yes, father," Hanabi pouted, clearly displeased, and remained behind as the three of them went into the house. Chapter 157, Father-in-Law, Your Humble Son-in-Law, Otsutsuki Izayoi. Hyuga Hiyashi led Izanami and Hinata into a tea room. The three knelt on cushions while Hiyashi prepared the tea. Looking down at the little ceremony, he asked, "Izanami, have you joined forces with Otsutsuki Toneri? How much do you know about him?" Because Hiyashi's gaze was fixed on the teacup, he didn't notice Hinata's expression change. She bit the inside of her cheek to stop herself from laughing. After all, the truth that Izanami was Toneri was a secret only she knew. But the harder she tried not to smile, the more ridiculous it felt. Her stern, serious father warning her boyfriend not to trust himself and treating the whole ninja world as if it were being played by Izanami. A suppressed smile tugged at Hinata's lips, but she kept her head bowed and her face respectful. Hiyashi, devoted to propriety, would scold her in an instant if he saw anything improper. Izanami, for his part, only grew more interested. If Hiyashi really had information about Toneri, perhaps the Hyuga possessed something that could reach the moon. Izanami's reincarnation eye had only progressed through 2 stages. He could see the moon from afar, but the spatial channel to get there remained sealed. If the Hyuga had inherited any coordinates or access left by Otsutsuki Hamura or the moon branch, it could be exactly what he needed. Feigning puzzlement, Izanami asked, "Uncle, why do you seem prejudiced against Otsutsuki Toneri?" Hinata pressed her lips together to hide a smile. She leaned forward when Hiyashi answered. "I am prejudiced against him," he said gravely. "If the person he allied with had been someone else, I might have felt differently. But because he chose you, I think he has ill intentions." "Father, you know about the Otsutsuki?" Hinata's head came up so fast she nearly startled. She had suspected Otsutsuki was a name Izanami invented, a story to keep people from digging into his past. Now she watched Hiyashi closely. Hiyashi's face grew complicated. "Because our Hyuga clan was once called Otsutsuki 1,000 years ago." Hinata stared as if she'd been told a fairy tale. Hiyashi continued, lowering his voice to the weight of clan history. "When I became head of the clan and read the secret records, I thought some of it was myth. But seeing Otsutsuki Toneri made me realize those records are true. The tale of the Six-Path Sage is real. Few know that the sage had a younger brother, Otsutsuki Hamura, who became an ancestor of the Hyuga. Hamura guarded a certain treasure and led part of the clan to the moon. That treasure, I believe it must be what Otsutsuki Toneri called the Outer Path demonic statue." Hiyashi sighed. To hide traces of the statue, or because of conflicts between the branches, the Otsutsuki who stayed in the ninja world changed their name and emblem. For centuries, the 2 branches kept some contact and even an ancient agreement, but during the warring states, that contact dwindled. Now, the full story is known only to the head of the Hyuga main family. Hinata's face went slack. The moon could be inhabited. The Outer Path demonic statue could be real. How could Izanami know all this? She glanced at Izanami, bewildered. Izanami kept making tea, listening. When Hiyashi mentioned the agreement, Izanami asked quietly, "Do you know what that agreement is?" Hiyashi set the cup down and looked at him. "Yes. The covenant says that if in the new generation, the most outstanding young person from the moon branch and the most outstanding young person of the Hyuga are a man and a woman, then there is a marriage contract arranged by the ancestors. Then, if the moon branch still remembers the agreement, Otsutsuki Toneri would be Hinata's fiancé," Hiyashi said. He must know about your relationship with Hinata, Izanami. He won't be completely benevolent toward you. Be vigilant. Do not trust him blindly. Hiyashi's meaning was clear. Even if a contracted marriage existed between Hinata and Toneri, he would choose Izanami for his daughter. He'd seen the way Hinata and Izanami already cared for each other. He approved of Izanami's character and his strength. Izanami felt a warmth for Hiyashi in that moment. Then, with a grin and a steady hand, he decided not to hide any longer. Under Hiyashi's shocked stare, Izanami released a wood transformation technique. His hair went from black to white in a visible instant. His blue irises shifted, the pupils developing a corona-like pattern, the reincarnation eye. The aura from those eyes made the tea room feel colder, like standing too close to something vast. Hiyashi's composure shattered. This, his voice broke, and for the first time he looked genuinely at a dojutsu he had only ever read about. The reincarnation eye had become known across the ninja world this year, elevated to the level of a sage's eye like the Rinnegan, and yet few had ever seen it up close. Hiyashi recognized it immediately. Izanami drew Hinata into his arms and smiled. Father-in-law, allow me to reintroduce myself. Your humble son-in-law, Otsutsuki Izayoi. The tea room fell silent. Hiyashi blinked, then after a long moment burst into a sharp half-laugh, half-scold. Brat, I knew you were aiming for Hinata. You enrolled in the village not long ago, and already, so you had your intentions all along. Hinata, dazed in Izanami's arms, murmured, So you were always my fiancé? Izanami took her hand, fingers curling around hers. He explained slowly, to make sure Hiyashi understood the depth of the matter. The Six-Path Sage was the ancestor of the Senju and Uchiha. The most outstanding members of those two clans, when their powers combine, can awaken the Rinnegan, the power of all creation. Uchiha Madara awakened the Rinnegan by absorbing the power of Hashirama during their battle. As for Hamura, the sage's younger brother, he possessed the supreme dojutsu too, the reincarnation eye. Awakening the reincarnation eye is similar to awakening the Rinnegan. When two branches with the purest circulation of their dojutsu exchange chakra, the power of all creation can be obtained. Hinata's eyes widened. So that's why you had Hanabi and me absorb your chakra every day. That's why our Byakugan and chakra grew stronger than the others. Hiyashi's stern face softened with comprehension. He finally understood how Hinata and Hanabi had broken through their limits. Izanami had been cultivating them, giving the clan's girls exposure to the right chakra. Seeing how he had cared for his daughters, Hiyashi felt even more approval for this young man who'd become his prospective son-in-law. He also realized why Izanami's talents were so extraordinary. So the Senju, Uchiha, Uzumaki, and Hyuga are linked, Hiyashi murmured. No wonder you developed wood release and the abilities of the Uzumaki while awakening the reincarnation eye. Is this the secret to your super-level power? He sighed. You must have come from a branch as magnificent as the sage or Hamura. Hiyashi's curiosity shifted. Your parents, are they still alive? How is that branch doing? Hope lit Hinata's face. Izanami might have a family, a name, but Izanami's answer cut through the hope. He shook his head and kept his voice calm, an actor's composed grief. That branch is gone. He told them what he could. A dispute over the Outer Path demonic statue led to factional war when the statue was summoned to the ninja world. His memories were fragmented. Only the image of an injured father bringing him to Konoha, arranging his identity, and sealing memories into him remained. Those seals were set to unlock as he grew stronger, granting him access to the power he now possessed and to the mission he was to carry out. After I awakened the reincarnation eye, I could see the moon with long-range vision. There's no one left there, Izanami said quietly. Hinata's hand flew to his cheek as she touched him, grief and tenderness mingling. Izanami-kun, you've had such a hard road, she whispered. She finally understood why he had pushed events toward war, why he insisted on retrieving the statue and confronting the Akatsuki's leader. It had been his mission. Hiyashi felt a pang of sorrow too, but beneath it was a practical delight. If Izanami was the last of that moon branch, then the reincarnation eye and its legacy would now be tied to the Hyuga line through his daughter. Hinata marrying Izanami didn't dilute the clan. If anything, it restored the Otsutsuki name to the Hyuga. Hiyashi allowed himself a private, pleased smile. My condolences, he said. The Hyuga are also the Otsutsuki. This is your home." Izanami let out a breath, showing gratitude with a gentle bow. He patted Hinata's head and asked, "The memory my father left me didn't include coordinates for the moon's spatial channel. Uncle, does the clan have any record of those coordinates? I want to go back and see." Hiyashi thought for a beat. "Not in the organized histories I have read. The Hyuga's libraries are a tangle, centuries of scrolls and books, many uncatalogued, but they might be here. If you want, you can go through them." Izanami brightened. "Of course," Hiyashi nodded, smiling. Hinata rolled up her kimono sleeves with determination. "I'll help you, Izanami-kun," she declared. She wanted to find his home, to pay respects at his parents' graves if they existed, and to stand by him. As the news settled and Hinata's excitement bloomed, she tucked the new knowledge away like a treasure. The label of girlfriend, replaced by the more formal, ancestral word she'd accidentally reclaimed, fiancé. They were meant to be together. Chapter 158, Konoha Year 62, Summary and Final Fetal Movement. Time turned the page without anyone noticing. Konoha Year 62 had arrived. Looking back over Year 61, a dozen major incidents packed into those 12 months had reshaped the ninja world. The Hidden Cloud Village incident began at the end of Year 60, but only spread across the continent in Year 61. The Five Kage Summit was held again after decades. At first, it seemed like the Akatsuki had attacked the Hidden Cloud, and the cloud had retaliated, sparking a war. In truth, it was the work of a visitor from the moon. Otsutsuki Toneri, wielding the Sage's Eye, the Reincarnation Eye, sought the Outer Path demonic statue and did not hesitate to set the world ablaze, personally manipulating the conflict between the Hidden Cloud and the Akatsuki. The climax of that conflict was a Valley of the End-scale showdown between the ninja god and the Asura of the ninja world. The spectacle rewrote everyone's sense of possibility. A red cloud of meteor showers, a green sea of trees rolling like a tsunami, a towering hundred-armed Buddha, an invisible hurricane of repulsive force. After the battle, the world entered a new age of the Sage's Eye. Both the Akatsuki's leader and Toneri looked scarcely older than 18 or 19. People feared the Sage's Eye would dominate the next decades, and the five great nations might crumble. Toneri's control of the human puppet legion and his long-range attacks on the five great shinobi countries deepened that dread. It seemed as if the final battle would decide the fate of the nations. But the decisive clash came sooner than anyone expected, and the victor was neither the Akatsuki leader, nor Toneri, nor the suddenly appearing wood release wielder. It was Uchiha Madara, the ninja world's Asura, resurrected decades after his death. The Rinnegan proved to possess complete revival ability, and whoever revived Madara, none other than the Akatsuki leader, appeared unharmed by the process. Yet there was no greedy scramble for those eyes. After Madara's revival, he calmly took the Rinnegan from the Akatsuki leader, who offered no resistance. The leader retained his wood-release prowess and remained a force to be reckoned with, but with Madara back and the leader deprived of the Rinnegan, the Hidden Rain village, rebuilt with wood release, quickly became the strongest village on paper. Most outsiders, however, avoided returning to the rebuilt Rain. Only Rain villagers went back to live under its wooden walls. The world fell into an uneasy balance. Perhaps the five nations had signed a pact, or perhaps Konoha's wood release users had allied with Toneri. Madara and the Akatsuki leader showed no inclination to attack the five nations. Toneri and Izanami avoided striking Rain as well. Everyone knew it was only a pause to gather strength. When the right opportunity came, a war fiercer than the last might erupt. Fearing their heroes' graves would be ransacked, the great villages agreed on a grim compromise. Exhume the remains of powerhouses who hadn't appeared in the final battle, seal their remains into scrolls, leave only relics in the coffins, and rebury them. Soul desecration was a worse fear than physical desecration. These measures were meant to prevent the heartbreak of finding a beloved protector's body profaned years later. Those were the major happenings of Year 61. Minor but meaningful events rippled through each village as well. Mei Terumi led the Mist Forces against the puppets for 2 months and earned the trust of her people, formally becoming the 5th Mizukage at the end of the year, earlier than in the original timeline. The 4th Raikage began delegating more to Darui, while he and Killer Bee trained at the Cloud Thunder Gorge, seeking mastery of their clan's ultimate shield and spear. Onoki, after being rebuffed by Deidara's refusal to return and teach Dust Release, turned to Huangtu and Kurotsuchi, shifting from a strict lineal inheritance of Dust Release to broader training in nature transformation to keep Iwagakure alive in the new era. Gaara finished his studies, took command of the Sand Ninjas, and became a Jonin, steadily overcoming the villagers' old fear of him. Back in Konoha, the class of the 60th year produced quick risers. Izanami was not only the fastest to become a Chunin, but also the first of his generation to reach Jonin. Teammate dissolved in practice. Hinata and Shino quickly made Chunin, and Tsunade argued sending the group out as a unit was wasteful. Hanabi applied for early graduation, and with Izanami persuading her future father-in-law and Tsunade, passed. Izanami suddenly spent more time with his sister-in-law than with Hinata. Hanabi, precocious and clear-eyed, already imagined Izanami one day too busy as Hokage to dote on her, so she milked the present for all the attention she could. At this point, Izanami had little need for ordinary training. 7 nature transformations and his Super Hurricane Serial Spheres had unlocked his Ninjutsu Genius, Blue, trait and promoted it quickly to Ninjutsu Master, Purple. He had mastered the Truth-Seeking Ball, and with the Otsutsuki clan's talent for spacetime, had learned spatio-temporal techniques like Flying Thunder God. Before becoming 6th Hokage, he had already absorbed most of the forbidden seals from the library. What he lacked most was time. The true metamorphosis, his real growth, would begin after his birthday. The next 2 years promised an acceleration of strength that dwarfed the previous couple of years. The comparison to Naruto was telling. Naruto's height and abilities leapt between graduation and Shippuden. Izanami's trajectory, with his suite of rare traits, was poised to be even more dramatic. Izanami's attributes were extreme. Sage Body, red. Sage's Eye, red. The Otsutsuki Bloodline, rainbow, all amplifying an absurd potential, but he also had a secret boon, the Grelel Stone Mine. His private hot spring was forever blue. The pool's stones were Grelel, and the water was saturated with raw life and natural energy. Bathing in it accelerated development in Izanami and those close to him. Hinata, Karen, and even Hanabi all benefited. Hinata's growth was striking. She reached 1.68 meters and developed into a taijutsu master blending power and suppleness, finally mastering the Yin Seal. Karen, inheriting the Whirlpool clan's legacy and Tsunade's tutelage, grew to 1.65 meters and became an exceptional hybrid, Senju-style chakra bursts, the Whirlpool sealing arts, and mastery of the adamantine sealing chains. With physical healing and the medical ninjutsu genius, Blue, trait, Karen's medical skills were racing toward Shizune's level. In a year or two, she would likely surpass her. Both girls passed the end-of-year exam and were promoted to Special Jonin. Hinata steadily, Karen unbelievably fast, Genin to Special Jonin in a single year. Word spread across Konoha and beyond that Hinata and Karen were Tsunade's hand-picked subordinates for Izanami, the 5th Hokage's aides now preparing to serve the 6th. Hinata was Izanami's girlfriend. Karen lived in his house. Civilians and shinobi alike treated them with special respect. Among the 3 girls, Hanabi changed the least physically. She'd grown from 1.32 to 1.40 meters in 2 years, because she was still too young for Izanami to push her. Still, that height was impressive for her age, and with Izanami's continued guidance and her genes, she would likely blossom into a top-tier beauty by the time she matured. Outside Izanami's circle, the rest of the 60th class also moved forward. In the first half of Year 61's Chunin exams, Sasuke, Shino, Neji, Shikamaru, Hinata, and Karen became Chunin. In the second half, Rock Lee, Naruto, and Choji followed. Naruto finally avoided the stuck Genin fate and could no longer be counted out for higher ranks. Sasuke and Neji planned to defer special Jonin assessments and continue missions, while Shino quietly joined Anbu, an assignment reported only to the Hokage. By the next Chunin exams, it was expected that Sakura, Tenten, and Ino would catch up and earn promotion. Barring unforeseen disasters, by the end of the first half of Year 62, the most promising newcomers would have been promoted and would begin to shoulder Konoha's future. That was the Year 61 summary. January 6th, Konoha, Year 62. Winter still clung to the village, snow blanketed roofs and trees. Izanami woke unusually early, without Hinata or Hanabi coming to rouse him. He didn't wake naturally. He was tickled awake. It sounded absurd for someone with the Otsutsuki bloodline, rainbow, and a sage body, red, but the sensation was real and oddly specific. Not an itch on his skin, but at the 2 bumps on his skull. Instinctively, he scratched and felt something sharp. Already fully awake, he dashed into the bathroom barefoot, flipped his hair back, and peered just above his hairline. 2 small, beige-colored horn tips, sharp and thin, were pushing through among his white strands. A slow smile tugged at his lips. "They've finally come in," he murmured. "I wonder if the dead bone pulse can control these 2 horns." Before he could test the idea, a second surprise struck. In the mirror, his eyes twitched, an unnatural sight that made his breath catch. The sensation was both terrifying and electrifying. Izanami reflexively covered his face, then let his hands fall. The corners of his mouth lifted again. The third and final pulsation of the reincarnation eye had arrived. Chapter 159, Samsara Eye Chakra Mode, New Red Entry. "Oni-chan, it's time to get up. It's not snowing today. We should go do missions." Hanabi pushed open Izayoi's door as usual and clambered onto his bed, already planning to use her bangs to tickle his nose awake. She froze when she saw white bandages over his eyes. Her face went pale with worry. "Oni-chan, what happened to your eyes? Are you hurt? I'll go get Oni-chan and Karin Oni-chan right now." Tears pricked at her eyes from the panic. Before she could move, Izayoi reached out and pulled his little sister-in-law into his arms, smiling gently. "I'm fine. My eyes are just evolving." "Evolving eyes?" Hanabi blinked, then curled up on his chest, bewildered. "Oni-chan, do you have a dojutsu too?" "Yes. It's my biggest secret. Only Hinata and father know right now." Izayoi smiled. "Do you want to know?" Hanabi nodded eagerly, excitement bright in her eyes. "Is this the thing you and father talked about last year?" "Sort of." Izayoi's smile took on a softer edge. "This state where I can't see may last a few days. I'll be weakest during that time. You mustn't tell anyone else. Until Hinata returns, I'll need your help." Hanabi's face lit up. "No problem. Hanabi will take good care of you. I'll make a shadow clone to go tell father Hanabi will be staying here the next few days. Like Hinata 2 years ago." Hanabi, who'd practically been raised by Izayoi, felt the same surge of admiration she always did. He was a mountain, solid and dependable. The idea of caring for someone who had always cared for her felt new and exciting. Unlike Hinata, who accepted responsibility gravely, Hanabi treated it like a game. She cared for him the same way she had looked after kids on D-rank missions. "Oni-chan, are you thirsty? Should Hanabi get you some water?" "Oni-chan, are you bored lying here? Should Hanabi use transformation technique to help you walk outside?" "Oni-chan, do you want something to eat?" She chattered like a sparrow into his ear. At first, she sat patiently beside him. Soon she was burrowing under his blanket, shifting positions and providing endless assistance. Izayoi played along, smiling and nodding each time. "All right, I'll trouble you, Hanabi." "Hehe, it's no trouble at all. Oni-chan can order Hanabi around however he likes," she said, delighted. Over the next day, she filled up his water, brought him snacks, and used transformation technique to adjust her height so she could help him walk outside. In truth, Izayoi didn't really need the care. This was the final gestation of his reincarnation eye. Once it completed, his power would leap beyond Kage level to a true Six Paths realm. To protect the process, Izayoi had recalled half his wood clones and kept them underground. They took turns teleporting with Flying Thunder God technique to the Yin Ninetails to siphon chakra, then returned to pump wood release chakra into the earth around the clock, watching for white Zetsu infiltrations. Other wood clones monitored every corner of Konoha with the reincarnation eye's long-range and X-ray vision, ready to capture and seal anyone acting suspiciously. Clones stationed outside watched Uchiha Madara, Uchiha Obito, and Otsutsuki Toneri. All traditional barriers were activated. Unless someone could hide in another dimension and overpower the wood clones and the human puppet legion, nothing could interrupt Izayoi's gestation. Madara's limbo clones might be a threat, but Izayoi's wood clones could detect limbo the same way Sasuke's 6 Tomoe Rinnegan could. The last gestation had only temporarily weakened Izayoi's reincarnation eye. His wood release and other powers still functioned. He remained Super Kage level, and with Flying Thunder God technique at his disposal, few could touch him. So this time he gestated cautiously in secret while maintaining a casual surface appearance. That afternoon, Hinata and Karin returned from work to cook. Karin gasped at the bandages and hurried over with sleeves rolled up. "When did you get hurt? Bite me and see if my physical healing can fix you." Hinata pouted a little, jealous that Izayoi was enjoying Hanabi's fussing, but she quickly recovered. Hanabi explained, "Karin Oni-chan is fine. He's just awakening a dojutsu." "A dojutsu?" Karin frowned. "Isn't Izayoi-kun descended from the Senju and the Whirlpool clans? How does he have a dojutsu?" "You'll know when I'm finished," Izayoi said with a smile. Hinata's expression grew serious. "Remember, this is Izayoi-kun's biggest secret. Just the three of us, no one else. Not even Hokage-sama or Shizune-san." Karin realized the gravity and nodded quickly. "Don't worry, I won't tell." "Oni-chan already told me," Hanabi piped in. Hinata was satisfied, then asked, "Should I take leave to come back and care for you, or send a shadow clone to stay here?" "No need. I don't think it'll take long." Izayoi smiled. "I've arranged for Hanabi to look after me. You two keep doing your jobs." They didn't press. As the Hokage's secretaries, they couldn't take leave without drawing attention. Hinata pulled Hanabi aside and explained how to care for Izayoi. He needed quiet rest and mustn't be disturbed unless he spoke first. The little sister-in-law transformed from hyperactive to remarkably obedient. Unless Izayoi started a conversation, she sat quietly by him, staring at his handsome, peaceful face. When he grew bored, she played again. When he was tired, she helped bathe him in hot springs or gave him acupressure massages. 2 days passed. The reincarnation eye still hadn't finished gestating, but Izayoi's Otsutsuki bloodline, Rainbow, had already unlocked a new trait. Ding! An anomaly has occurred. You have acquired the talent trait, Levitation Gold, cannot be decomposed. Izayoi felt a sudden unshackling. His body felt feather-light. Gravity no longer bound him. With a thought, he floated. Previously, he had been able to manipulate gravity to move, not truly fly. Without high-level chakra control, this had been clumsy and risky. Now he had true free flight. After growing horns and unlocking the third trait of a pure-blood Otsutsuki, he had finally transcended the food chain and evolved beyond human limits. In the original stories, flight was rare. Onoki and the second Tsuchikage used earth-release techniques. Other flight was simply ninjutsu. But for the Otsutsuki clan, flight was normal. With this skill, Izayoi could travel to the moon without needing spatial tunnel coordinates. He didn't revel in his new ability like a child with a toy. He waited patiently for the reincarnation eye to finish gestating. Maybe the Rainbow Otsutsuki lineage helped. This third gestation only took 3 days. Evening of January 9th, Konoha year 62. Under Hanabi and Karen's eager gazes, Hinata helped Izayoi remove the bandages. When he opened his eyes, both girls stared dumbstruck. "Izayoi-kun, you," Karen pointed at his eyes and stammered. Hanabi could only swallow and tremble. Izayoi smiled and said, "That's right, I am Otsutsuki Toneri." His mouth curled with a confidence she'd never seen. His hair faded from black to white, and 2 sharp horns pushed up from his forehead. He gently held Hanabi and Karen by the chins and said, "Sorry to keep you waiting. This is my true form." "So handsome," they cried, then hurled themselves into his arms. Karen fussed in mock grievance, then stroked his hair. "The white hair really suits you." "Oni-chan, are these real horns?" Hanabi touched the tips. "Why are they so small and pointy?" Izayoi didn't answer aloud. He closed his eyes and quietly activated Dead Bone Pulse. He felt the horns lengthen and thicken. A mirror floated over and reflected the change. The horns had become a pair of dragon-like horns. They extended and coiled with a slight writhing, forming a pale beige crown around his head. "This is amazing," Hinata, Hanabi, and Karin breathed. Izayoi felt the horns were bone and sensed he could control them with Dead Bone Pulse. That was excellent news. These horns weren't mere ornamentation. They could become weapons harder than steel. If he mastered techniques like Bloodline Net all-killing ash bones, he could even fire bone projectiles from his horns. In close quarters, grappling with an enemy and then launching a lethal bone arrow from his head would be devastating. Even Otsutsuki Kaguya, who lacked combat sense, hadn't exploited such potential. "Step aside for a moment. I want to try my new abilities," he said, pushing the girls back and rising to test the reincarnation eye's power. As Madara had explained, the reincarnation eye's evolution resembled the Sharingan's rise, Tomoe to Mangekyo to Eternal Mangekyo, and finally transcending dimensions. The first two gestations of Izayoi's Byakugan and Reincarnation Eye had unlocked powerful but still planetary-level abilities. The final gestation meant transcendence, interdimensional power, a human becoming something like a god. During the gestation, his long range and X-ray vision had increased. Now all the ninja world lay in his sight. This time, beyond the basics, Izayoi unlocked one major new ability, Reincarnation Eye Chakra Mode, Activate. He floated in midair as a greenish-blue chakra aura wrapped his body like living light, horns turning into a greenish-blue crown. Izayoi looked at Hinata and the girls below, then at his hands sheathed in that chakra. "What an amazing feeling," he murmured. "I feel like I can do anything." It was similar to Sage Mode, mind and body calm, in tune with nature, and like Obito, overcoming the Ten Tails' will and stepping into the Six Paths realm. Before he could fully explore the mode, a notification chimed in his mind. Ding! An anomaly has occurred. The talent entry Air Mastery has completed its sublimation. Izayoi frowned, then summoned the personal status panel only he could see. Host Izayent entries, Otsutsuki Bloodline, Rainbow, Bloodline Limit, Reincarnation Eye, Rainbow, Sage Body, Red, Air Mastery, Red, Six Paths Aptitude, Red, Bloodline Limit, Wood Release, Gold. "It's gone," he muttered. As he suspected, after the Reincarnation Eye's final evolution, the entry Prince of Byakugan had vanished. So had the Sage's Eye, Red, he'd obtained from Sasuke. Now only 3 red entries remained, Sage Body, Red, Air Mastery, Red, and Six Paths Aptitude, Red. He'd suspected it. The rapid awakenings he'd achieved earlier weren't just because of Prince of Byakugan, Red. Sage's Eye, Red, had accelerated things too. Prince of Byakugan represented purity. Sage's Eye represented extreme yin power. Combined with the Otsutsuki bloodline, Red, for the body, it was like having 2 evolution cheats. He was glad he hadn't fused back the Uchiha bloodline, Purple, he'd once gained from Sasuke. Otherwise, Sage's Eye might have accelerated the Sharingan instead. One decision can redirect the future. Izayoi felt the butterfly effect keenly. After a moment, he smiled. The entries' names made sense now. Air Mastery wasn't merely flight. For pure-blood Otsutsuki, flight was tied to a space-time talent, and the talent system still hadn't fully captured that. The gold-level Air Mastery had first granted flight. As Izayoi developed it, the entry's potential could allow perception and manipulation of stronger space-time forces. Now Air Mastery, Red, had begun by granting space control. Izayoi could manipulate objects within a certain area, turning them into weapons without relying on attraction. Fully realized, the entry could let him do what Hamura had, create spatial tunnels to the moon, open teleportation gates, and more. Air Mastery was a stepping stone toward the bloodline net. Otsutsuki are true cheats, Izayoi thought, feeling the gap between his former self and the brothers Hagoromo and Hamura. With both rainbow entries, Otsutsuki Bloodline and Reincarnation Eye, he finally understood how vast that difference really was. Chapter 160, Chakra Beads, Silver Wheel Reincarnation Explosion. Oni-chan, is this the Reincarnation Eye's new ability? It's actually chakra materialization. It's so beautiful. After Izanami landed, Hanabi and Karen immediately gathered around, circling him clockwise and counterclockwise as they inspected the Tenseigen chakra mode. Hanabi reached out and gingerly touched the greenish-blue aura surrounding him. "What a strange texture," she said in surprise. "It's like cotton. There's no warmth at all." Karen touched it too, eyes wide. "These chakra auras are attribute-less, just like those super hurricane spheres. Doesn't that mean Izayoi-kun can use this chakra to transform into ninjutsu of any nature whenever he wants?" Hinata was quiet for a moment, then pulled a camera from somewhere and snapped a photo of Izanami. She smiled. "Shizayoi-kun, change the horn on your head back into the dragon horn you had before. I really can't do anything about you." Izanami muttered, but he complied. He reshaped the horn into the dragon horn and floated up again, striking a cool pose. Hanabi and Karen stepped back to let Hinata take pictures. With a click, Hinata pressed the shutter, then compared the shots in her head. "The dragon horn still looks better. That crown doesn't fit the robe. Oni-chan, take a photo of Oni-chan and me." "Me too." Hanabi and Karen came closer again. Izanami indulged them, posing and letting Hinata take pictures. Hinata pouted, holding the camera in one hand and placing the other on her hip. "I'm Izayoi-kun's girlfriend. You have to let me go first." "All right." Hanabi and Karin capitulated, begrudgingly. Izanami posed for photos with each of them in turn, floating in the air, doing different poses. After the four-person shot, the three girls went off to develop the photos, while Izanami concentrated on feeling out the Tenseigun Chakra mode's powers. As an ability unlocked by a third chakra awakening and a symbol of crossing dimensions, the Tenseigun Chakra mode was more than decoration. Izanami soon discovered its strongest and singular power. Chakra beads condense. He lifted his palm, and a giant black sphere formed there. The sphere split into 9 fist-sized black orbs that floated around him like truth-seeking balls. Seeing them, Izanami remembered mistakenly thinking they were truth-seeking balls when he watched the reincarnation eye scenes in his past life. These orbs were also made with yin-yang release, but they were not the same as truth-seeking balls. They did not contain the 7 ultimate natures nor the instant annihilation power. These were chakra beads. As products of yin-yang release within the Tenseigun Chakra mode, the beads held terrifying creative power. With a thought, one black bead flashed greenish-blue, transformed into a sphere of light, and flew out. It hovered a few meters away, then burst into radiance. From that radiance, a metal birdcage assembled upward from the ground, forming out of thin air. "Creating form from nothing. That's yin release," Izanami murmured. He pointed to the ground. Another bead became a beam that shot into the earth. The ground trembled and cracks opened, greenish-blue light shining through. Rocks rose and assembled into a stone figure the size of Hanabi, one of Izanami's childhood icons from his former life, the world-famous Giant of Light, Ultraman Tiga. And injecting life into form, that's yang release. Watching the Tiga statue wave, Izanami continued, "Yin draws from the spiritual energy that governs imagination and creates form out of nothing. Yang draws from the physical energy of life and gives form vitality. Together, yin-yang release jutsu." Suddenly, everything clicked. He understood how Otsutsuki Toneri had created the birdcage that trapped Hinata in the reincarnation eye, how he summoned the immortal Otsutsuki Hamura stone statue, and how the silver wheel and golden wheel reincarnation explosions were formed. He understood why the reincarnation eye was called an ultimate ocular jutsu of creation and destruction. The Tenseigun Chakra mode had one ability, chakra beads, and chakra beads' ability was singular, creation. With enough mastery of yin-yang release, chakra beads could theoretically create anything, even truth-seeking balls. No wonder Otsutsuki Hamura could have truth-seeking balls without being Ten Tails Jinchuriki or having a sage body, he thought. Chakra beads are the prototype of truth-seeking balls. He looked up toward the moon, the artificial sun above it, and the palace were probably built of chakra beads. Hamura might have left behind the complete yin-yang release and the method to fuse truth-seeking balls along with the secret technique for combining the giant reincarnation eye. If Izanami could obtain those, he might not need to cultivate Six-Path Sage mode. He could use Tenseigun Chakra mode to create truth-seeking balls. "I'm going out for a bit. Don't save dinner for me," he told Hinata, Hanabi, and Karin, then teleported away before they could ask anything. Hanabi immediately complained. "Oni-chan just had to go try his new power, didn't he?" Before Hinata could nod, Karin said with a shiver, "Maybe as Otsutsuki Toneri, he's gone to test his moves on Uchiha Madara and Nagato." "That's not possible, right?" Hanabi stammered, worried. Hinata patted her head and smiled. "Don't worry. No matter what Izayoi-kun does, he always makes complete preparations. He'll be fine." Hanabi and Karin both pouted, offended that they'd only just learned Izanami's biggest secret today. Hanabi sulked. "Oni-chan really is biased. He tells Oni-chan everything but never tells Hanabi." Karin nodded in agreement, then charmingly declared, "Who told you to be so unreliable normally? This concerns everyone's safety and the fate of the shinobi world. Also, I'm Izayoi-kun's girlfriend and fiancée." Hinata emphasized her identity with a pleased smile. Hanabi clenched her teeth. Karin, for the first time, found Hinata less cute. The two exchanged glances and, grinning mischievously, tackled Hinata to the ground and started rubbing her big G. Surprised yelps and pleas rang out. If Izanami had seen that, he'd have teleported back in a flash to scold them, and then true to form, turned into a mechanic to fix whatever damage they'd done. But at that moment, he was already a greenish-blue beam shooting up into the sky like a laser. "This is real flight. Awesome!" he cheered. Floating with gravity or borrowing the wood dragon's power wasn't the same as true flight. With flight mastered, it felt like the heavenly transfer technique. Space itself accelerated around him. His body generated intense friction, yet the Tensegan chakra mode isolated him from air resistance and tearing. The sky felt like his domain. He broke through clouds, then the atmosphere, leaving the Earth for the first time in his life. He didn't go to the moon right away. He looked down at the planet, spread his arms like Superman, and breathed in the power of the sun. For the first time, he understood the difference between Six Paths level strength and overpowered human combat. Gods could do things humans could not. Where others might have had chakra consumed to the point of collapse, his flight here cost him almost nothing. He took a deep breath and shook his head. "There's oxygen in outer space. This world is ridiculous." Shrugging off the oddities, he turned toward the moon and the artificial sun above it. The golden light source was pure chakra engineering, made with chakra beads and yin-yang release, wrapped in nature transformations and sealing formulas. Without the key, even a Kage wouldn't easily break that light barrier. Izanami simply raised his palm and let the greenish-blue chakra surge. Space-time power within a radius around him shifted, and the cap on nearby matter loosened. With a flick of his finger, the golden barrier tore open. This was flight, red. Passing through, he entered the artificial sun and saw two structures, a grand palace and a shrine. Inside the shrine sat the Otsutsuki clan's greatest treasure, formed by fusing countless Byakugan, the giant reincarnation eye. Before he could study it closer, dense golden light bullets materialized and shot toward him from the palace. Hundreds of wireless puppets, riding flying bird puppets, poured out behind the barrage and launched more golden shots. "They greet me with an automatic firing line. Seems I'm getting famous," Izanami said wryly. He was about to blast out a few green spheres that could absorb ninjutsu and chakra when he paused, watching the massed attackers. A smile crossed his face. This number's worth trying something new. He condensed 9 black beads into a circle. The beads melted together, covered by greenish-blue chakra, and became a spinning greenish-blue light wheel. He released it. Silver wheel reincarnation explosion. The wheel burst into radiance and vanished. A giant tornado formed in its place, roaring forward. The storm's suction greedily drew the golden bullets in as if they had homing beacons. Like a wind god's whip, it swept up the wireless puppet army. Whether struck, grazed, or nearby, the bullets and puppets were dragged into the vortex or torn apart by the wind wall. After wiping out the puppet force in an instant, the tornado changed course and dove straight into the light wall. The artificial sun shuddered under the impact. Before long, the tornado ripped open a huge gap in the barrier and continued, crashing into the moon and destroying the barren landscape and ruined cities. "What terrifying power," Izanami muttered. The tornado created by chakra beads wasn't ordinary wind release. Though it contained chakra, it operated on a different principle than wind nature. This was not ninjutsu, but a natural disaster born of yin-yang release. Izanami wondered, could the Preta path or the reincarnation eye's chakra absorption even absorb something like this? Whoosh! A purple beam shot out from the palace like a laser. It was faster and more dimensional than the Asura path's rays. Izanami tracked it back to Otsutsuki Toneri, who held a floating purple stone emitting the beam. Izanami formed a green light sphere and fired, but the purple beam's scale dwarfed his attack. Still, the two collided. Energy-based techniques that don't include the 7 ultimate natures ultimately cannot resist chakra absorption, and the green light sphere, being designed to absorb, held steady against the purple beam. The collision showed that chakra absorption could negate ordinary energy attacks that weren't fused with the ultimate transformations.